Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of 4Player Podcast. My name is Nick Henderson. I am a writer and co-founder over at 4Player Network. If this is your first time listening, please look for us on iTunes and subscribe. Doing so will keep you up to date with not only this podcast, but our sister shows Cocktail Time and Audible Impressions as well. If you haven't already, swing by the website at 4playernetwork.com and join our gaming community by signing up for a free account. And last but not least, please don't forget to tune in every night over at 4pp.tv to watch us broadcast games, record podcasts, and interact with the community. But enough about that, it's time to talk about video games. Let's get started.
Take two.
Now we're starting the camera.
Take two. Hey guys, welcome to 4Player Podcast. This is episode day three.
Day
of,
three
of E3, or day four technically.
Day four of the podcast.
I don't know
Oh
anymore.
my god, I don't
Day
even.
three of the show floor.
Whatever. Fuck it. E3 is over.
Final day.
Thank God.
E3 is over, man.
And I'm sad. I am sad.
No, if there was one
I
more
am
day, I would
never
just
sad.
march back
Hey,
there and I would
guys,
burn down the
I
building.
want you guys to keep one thing in mind. In 3 months, PAX Prime, and it's
Uh-huh.
now 4 days long.
I will only be there for 2 of those days
What? You bastard. Why would you do such a thing?
because I just took up a whole week from work to be
Uh-huh.
here.
I'll be
No,
there
remember
a whole
you-
0 days.
Oh
Labor
yeah, I
Day is
forgot.
Monday.
But I forgot.
So you've
that,
got 3 days.
I forgot that Labor Day is that Monday, so I'll be here for 3 days.
Okay.
It's going to be the Joseph show
That's fine.
at PAX.
We do like the Joseph show.
I can do
Joseph is a fine host, and he's very tolerable.
I'll just do all of you, but I'll do the different voices.
We're all gonna sound like old men.
Well, yeah, probably.
All right. Anyways, as we said, E3 is over. The show floor is closed. We've got our final chance to play some new games. So I guess today we're going to talk about those games. I played Batman and
What?
Wolfenstein. And
You played Batman?
Wait. Sorry. Yeah, I'm tired.
It's
been a long-
Wolfenstein's good. I know you guys are
I did play Wolfenstein.
iffy. I know you guys are iffy about it. I know why, but
We'll get to Bethesda at the end because I do want to hear about your impressions of The Evil Within, and, which I did not get to see.
I didn't get to see either, and I was mad.
you know what's funny about this? I'm looking at my notes, and one of the games I looked at today was Pac-Man DX Plus. And the only reason I looked at it is because with the Namco Bandai to look at Dark Souls 2. And they're like, well, look, come and see Pac-Man first, and then you can go to Dark Souls. And we're like, okay, we'll go.
Do I have to?
Tolerable, but I mean, the guy was.
Well,
he was-
that's the thing. The guy was so into Pac-Man and so into trying to tell us, and I'm trying to be interested. It was kind of interesting, but I'm trying to be interested. So I end up taking more notes about fucking a Pac-Man TV show that's coming out this summer than I did about anything, just because I wanted him to feel good about him giving his
Hey,
presentation.
I just want you to know somebody in chat just said, did these people tweet about Doom 4?
Yes, Doom 4 was fantastic.
it blew my mind.
I like to do it with the flashlight. Now, instead of a flashlight you hold, they gave you one of those little spelunky flashlights on
Yeah.
your forehead.
You know what the best
And
part
it
was?
raises with the Connect. If you raise your eyebrows, it turns the flashlight
Yeah.
on. And if
But-
you raise your eyebrows again, it turns the flashlight
I
off.
fucking loved the Gordon Freeman cameo. That was just out of this world. I can't believe they did
And
that.
I think it was a very brave decision to make the Doom 4 work on the Wii U with the Vitality
Why
know.
are we
sensor.
talking about Half-Life 3? We could be talking about The Last Guardian.
2.
Last Guardian
And
2.
2, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Anyway, so Pac-Man, we'll talk about Pac-Man later.
Yeah, I want.
Do
I
we have
actually
to
want
talk
to
about Pac-Man?
Briefly, we do.
that. Briefly, because
Because it is kind of, there was an interesting aspect of it.
yeah.
That guy really wants to know if we tweeted about Doom 4.
Well, he did tweet about it.
Technically, we tweeted about Doom 4. And it worked. Okay. So, you want to start with Batman? I went and saw Batman.
Which Batman is this?
Arkham Origins.
Okay.
It's not being developed by Rocksteady. It's being developed by Warner Brothers Montreal. And yeah, so I saw about a 25-minute snippet of the game, and it was an open world sequence. So you got a kind of a feel for the city and how it compares to Arkham City.
Mhm.
And it looks bigger. They didn't give a number or a specific. They didn't specify how much bigger it is.
They
than
didn't
Arkham
say it
City.
was 35 times bigger like The Witcher 3.
They didn't say that.
Right.
But the game does certainly have a sense of scale that I don't think Arkham City quite had. It's very vertical. Like a lot of the buildings and skyscrapers are a lot taller than the ones that you found in Arkham Arkham Origins, and the whole the fact that the game takes place on Christmas Eve creates this really cool atmosphere to it, I think. And we saw some snippets of the
Shane
gameplay.
Black movie.
We saw some snippets of the gameplay at one of the conferences, I think, and I remember Brad turning to me and going, "That looks kind of rough. Maybe we should go check that out." And I'm happy to report, I think it looks solid. It looks no worse off than Arkham City did, and I think that game was fantastic. I think the game is going to play it very safe.
Yeah.
There wasn't they were trying to show off some of the new things. They didn't, but it's still at the end of the day, it still felt pretty a pretty safe bet. But 2 new features they showed that I think do make a big difference. One of which has an experience system now.
Oh, okay.
So you're getting experience for taking down enemies and using that to upgrade your.
I thought it
your
always
weapons and
did.
stuff.
Yeah.
It did.
Yes.
Yeah.
You bought abilities.
But was there an actual experience system?
Upgrades. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
How did
remember.
it work?
You spend experience points on various things.
He said that like it was a brand new thing. Okay, so scratch that. It's one new ability or one new feature that's really cool, and this is totally new. They upgraded the detective skills in this game quite dramatically.
It's actually a detective mode now.
Yes, there's an actual so in the shot the demo they showed us today, you were on this rooftop and this helicopter swooped in and it was it was like a police helicopter, and it's like it caught Batman or whatever, and it was trying to give chase, and then all of a sudden the helicopter's tail flew off and it crashed, and you see the thing fall down to the street level. So Batman goes down to the street level and finds the helicopter, and he goes in this detective mode where it's kind of like the Batman vision that you had in the last game, where everything kind of highlights and you see like an X-ray kind of vision of everything, but it allows you to scroll through like a timeline, like a fast forward and rewind of the entire crime, and allow you to recreate it in real time and look for clues. So you see like the pilot is dead on the ground because he flew out of the window. So you hit rewind, and all of a sudden the body kind of flies back into the helicopter, and the helicopter goes back up. And the entire time he's watching to see what kind of caused the crash in the first place. And eventually he goes back up to the rooftop where he finds the first point of impact where it hit the side of the building the first time, and he's able to realize it has to do with the fact that the tail of the helicopter came off, and he's like, why did the tail come off? And then he rewinds it further and is able to figure out eventually that Deadshot shot the tail off, or shot the rotor off with, a sniper shot. And then he's able to pinpoint the location of the sniper by basically just reverse engineering the crime.
Right.
And it's super cool because you can fast forward and rewind
So how's
in
he-
real time.
How exactly is he fast forwarding or rewinding time?
I don't know because I didn't get my hand on the controller, so I couldn't tell if he's just holding.
No, but I mean, is it out in the world, or is he using special bat goggles?
It's just it's his envisioning of the crime, so it's not really happening in
It's
real
like
time.
instinctual
use-
imagining it.
Special sands to rewind.
No.
these.
No.
Okay.
But no, not sands of time. But he did have this so you'll see the helicopter on the ground, but when you go into detective mode, you'll see it rewind, but it's like a ghost of the helicopter. So the helicopter stays in the ground, but you see the ghost of it kind of go back and what?
The ghost of the helicopter.
Whatever. I mean, it's like a ghost image of the helicopter
Sure,
kind of comes out of it and rewinds. It's actually a really cool looking effect, and depending on how deep it goes, I think it could be really interesting because it's definitely a lot deeper than anything I saw in the previous Batman games, especially since they're trying to basically play up the whole Batman being the greatest detective in the world thing, which it looks really cool, and that's definitely the biggest difference between the old games and the new games. They showed off a new tool he has called the. I'll pull it up in a second, but basically what it allows you to do.
Speaking
It's
of
it's just
detective
cause.
modes-
It's just cause. He latches onto
So,
an
yeah,
enemy.
It's
I
a
heard about
grapple
that.
gun.
I heard about the grapple thing.
Yeah, it's like a remote claw is what he's called it. So you can latch onto one thing and then target an enemy, and then it will he'll shoot it onto the wall, and then it will shoot out a claw and grabs onto someone else and then pulls them towards it. So it's kind of like that.
Or you can do it with 2 enemies.
Yeah, or you
Right.
can.
But can you attach it to a canister, shoot a hole in that canister, and have him rocket the dude up into the sky?
If you could shoot if the canister would follow those physics rules, I think it would.
They did not show that happen. No,
Now you're making me want to play Just Cause.
they did show Bane,
Uh,
who looks dramatically different than he did in the other ones. He looks
He's
actually
not all venomed up.
he's not all venomed up. He looks a lot cooler.
But he
He's
was
still
in the other one.
yeah, but he doesn't look anything like the Bane
This
from.
was prior to.
This
his
was younger
Bane
Bane.
juice.
This Bane he's still big, but he's not super hulking muscles ridiculously
giant
unreal.
tubes coming
He
out
looks
of him.
actually more like the Bane from the Dark Knight Rises.
yeah, I figured they might do that.
Is he still a mindless thug like he was in the comic books?
They didn't.
Bane?
Do you want me to spoil the end of the demo? I mean, it's I'm sure it's out there.
I don't
at this
care.
point. Did you watch the demo?
I was trying to trigger Nick's response of like, no, that's not how he was in the comic books at all.
No, it's
He
not.
almost triggered that in me.
I know. It's funny that I almost got you.
Yeah, but I'm onto your tricks now, Brad. I don't follow
Damn
that
it!
shit anymore.
Then our podcast is gonna go down fucking hill, man.
Sorry. But the demo ends with you're basically trying to go confront the Black Mask, and you go up to the top of this hotel, and when the elevator door opens, Bane attacks you, and like this really cool action sequence where he like throws you through a wall, and then you find out that the Black Mask isn't there; it's the Joker, and there's this really cool sequence there.
And
It looks really awesome, and the Joker, even though not voiced by Mark Hamill, sounds exactly like Mark Hamill. Like
That's
it's almost
It's got to be
indistinguishable.
terrifying for Mark
and the
Hamill.
character design, I mean, it's already even meaner looking.
Yeah, he looks pretty fucked
I
up.
mean,
Well, speaking of fucked up,
All I'm saying is Batman Arkham Origins looks good. Sorry.
Speaking of fucked up, Nolan's here in chat, and that reminds me, we got to remember to talk about South Park at the very end of the show.
very, very. If we even remember to, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll.
I
End
mean,
up
I'm not sure it's even worth talking about.
I don't know if we'll end up talking. He's not. He's
He's
upset
not
about
amused.
that.
Well, I did have a good transition where I was going to say, speaking of detective modes, we checked out Murdered Soul Suspect,
Yes, we
Right.
did.
which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I have some issues with it.
I see.
I think I echo your issues, but it is L.A. Noire meets The Frighteners.
I never saw The Frighteners.
It is L.A. Noire meets Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I'll let you guys go through your explain it first.
Okay, so Murder Soul Suspect.
Yeah.
Soul Suspect is a game being developed by Airtight Games. If you-
What did they do?
They did Dark Void. They have members of the team. Didn't they have someone that came over to work for Airtight?
Yes,
that came,
Kim Swift, and
Kim-
then they did Quantum Conundrum.
Yeah, Kim Swift, who worked on Quantum Conundrum, works for Airtight Games now. But yeah, so Murder Soul Suspect is a Square Enix game about a detective who is murdered at the very beginning of the game, and you play his ghost, who's trying to solve his own murder. And there's, as a ghost, he's limited by the rules of ghostliness.
Ghostdom.
Ghostdom. So it takes place in Salem, Massachusetts. And I thought it was pretty cool. So he talks about.
Did we talk about this last night?
We did a little
We
bit.
briefly mentioned it, yeah.
We
But
mostly talked about the movie Ghost with Oprah
Yeah,
Winfrey.
and then everything devolved from there.
Yeah.
Let's keep.
Oh,
on
wait, it's
track
not
this
Oprah
time.
Winfrey.
okay, so Salem. So the cool thing that I like the way they justified this. So they give you these limitations. You can walk through walls. You can walk through people, anything in the actual living world. You can just kind of walk through, which is nice, which is really cool. But you're limited as to walking into buildings because in Salem, given its supernatural history, quote unquote, the townspeople are superstitious and they have this tendency to how did he what's the word?
Bless
Bless
Or-
the various buildings.
Bless all the buildings. So
No.
what did I pick the wrong word?
Fine, that one works.
Oh, they blessed them.
They bless the buildings so ghosts can't
They christen them.
they can't walk through the barrier created by blessing them. So
However,
but if someone creates a hole in the barrier by opening a door or a window or something that like you can enter freely. And then once you're inside, you can walk through walls, so you don't have to bother about finding a door into the next room. You can just literally
You can walk through
the
walls, but if he's a ghost, why can't he fly? Or why can't he go through floors?
I don't know. I didn't think about it.
Because when he walks through walls, he has the intention of walking through the wall.
yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying why does he not fall through floors. I mean, say he need to get up to the top floor, and the whole time he was trying to get up to the top floor. Why didn't he just like fly up there?
I
He
think
can't
it's
fly.
because that ability is beyond human ability. So I think it's limited
Someone's walking
to.
through walls.
Well, no, but that's
I'm
the
more-
determination, the ability.
I'm more curious
As a
about his
ghost.
ghost cigarette.
Because he died.
He does have a ghostly cigarette.
He has a ghostly cigarette.
Keeps
It-
flicking
it
it
never-
away.
it-
and
I
he
was
gets a
thinking
new
about
one.
that too, yeah.
The weirdest thing
Never
though is
runs out.
that entire time there's a sequence where you eventually kind of put together your murder, and it shows the reenactment of how you died, and this like crazy like hooded dude is beating the crap out of you, and the entire time he's
Cigarette.
smoking cigarettes in his mouth, and I was like, I'm pretty sure you
That would have dropped at the first moment. So here's my thing about Murdered Soul Suspect. Is you're going through things and you're trying to solve mysteries and solve your murder. So you go into a room.
This is
and-
the LA Noir-ish part
Yes,
of it.
and you go into the room and there's these items on the floor that are glowing. Of course they're glowing. I don't think they should be glowing. You should have to look for stuff, but that's just me. And you go and like they're glowing and you go over them and you press whatever button to start examining and these words pop up. And like let's say there's a baseball bat or something, and it'd be like, and it's bent, and like words like violence or hit will come up, and you pick violence, and the guy's like, and you like hit, you pick that one, it's like, and then you pick another one, it's like sudden or something, it's like, he's like, that's it. And then the cutscene of that thing happening happens, right?
Yes.
And everything sort of is like that. When you're going through a room, it's like, pick what this is out, and it's like, oh yeah, that's it. Oh, that's right, that's it. And you always,
They're called clues.
I know.
Have you ever played Clue?
Everything.
You pick Mr. Plum, you pick the wrench, you pick the library, and the game is over.
That'll do. But the thing is, all you're doing is going through menus and choosing words that are right. Like what they never show what happens if you choose the wrong thing. If you choose the wrong thing, does that send you down a path that ends up being a dead end, and then you have to backtrack? Or when you pick that wrong thing, does he go? Yeah, because then this whole game is just going through menus and then watching cutscenes.
No, I think it's more going to be reflected in how much you end up learning about the story and the backstory of the character.
The words here, that's the tricky part about these detective games. Yeah. To be honest, I mean, it doesn't matter what they are. You go from, he was talking about Batman, but even if you you look at stuff like LA Noire, you look at stuff like Phoenix Wright or something, where you're trying to, solve a fucking case. Like they're never done very well. There's not an easy way to do it, I don't think, because you have the limits of certain systems.
But you can.
They just want you to have to use your brain a little bit.
I know, but you can do it to where you go down sort of this dead-end path, and then maybe that's wrong, and you have to backtrack or it changes the story.
They just weren't showing what would happen.
And that's what I'm interested in. And like, there's not a lot of depth here, and I'm wishing there was more depth to these systems. And it's shown that's shown in other ways as well. There's one little side quest where you find this ghostly woman, and she's hiding in a closet, and she's crying. She's like, "Oh, please help me! I can't find my body." And you're like, "Okay." And she's like, "The last thing I remember was with this old couple." And he's like, "Okay, I know where the old couple is." So he goes to the old couple, and he goes into their body, he reads their thoughts, and in a very kind of simple procedure, he learns that they killed her and dumped her in a quarry. And then he goes back to her, and he's like, "Oh, your body's in the quarry, so now you can do your corpse run and get your sword back."
I just got to say that was a really cheesy side quest.
Yeah,
because he's like, let's go over to this room, and he goes into the dad, and he's like, "Oh, I can't believe we killed that girl." And then he goes over to the wife, she's like, "I can't believe we drove her to the quarry." Like the dialogue was almost like that verbatim. Yeah. I mean, Jesus Christ.
And then, but I'm thinking, and then he's like, "Your body's at the quarry," and she's like, "Oh, okay, thank you."
And then she floats up to heaven.
Yeah, and that was it. And I was thinking, God, this could have been such a deeper thing. You have this soul who's trapped on Earth who wants to find her body, which is kind of creepy and kind of emotional when you think about it. And it's just like, okay, thanks.
I think you just ruined this game for me, right?
They could have done like so much more with that. That could have been such a deeper, more meaningful moment. And it just turned into an EverQuest corpse run for this girl.
Okay. One, you're making some good, solid points.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley.
You are also being a little hard on a game that is going out of its way to be something unique, and to be something that's not just pew pew pew, shoot everything in the face. This game looks legitimately interesting.
You know the biggest problem I had with the demo was? No. And maybe this is just the detective in me coming out. But okay, so
it had the scary things. You forget about.
Hear me out. We'll talk about the scary things in a second, but hear me out. So, the beginning of this game, you shows your murder. You are thrown. You enter into a struggle. You're thrown from a third floor or fourth floor window. You land on the street. This guy comes out, grabs your gun out of your holster in the street, and shoots you 7 times in the chest. Mm-hmm. That's how you die, right?
Yeah.
So then you go and you go up to the 4th floor, right? And you recreate what happened on the 4th floor before you were flung out the window. Am I right?
Yeah.
And you're finding all the evidence marked by the police with evidence. They have little evidence tabs around the room, right? So they're investigating your murder as well. Of course, they can't see you because you're a ghost, so you're walking around. And you know what's on the ground? In the apartment on the 4th floor on the ground is your gun.
Holy shit, Detective Nick found a fucking flaw in the Jesus, Nick, you're like Batman.
Does that mean
You know what? I found a fucked up clue too. Maybe Airtight Games is falling apart. So when he first finds the bat, it flashes back to the dude bending the bat, right? But later
he doesn't bend the bat.
Later, when they recreate the actual scene, he never bends the bat.
See?
So what the fuck is going on?
You know what it is? This game is brilliant. Now we're the detectives.
Dude, there's
He never
I
bends
don't
the
know.
bat.
I know.
He actually hits him with the bat, and then the dude grabs the bat and like throws it away. He never bends it.
I think something is fucked up here.
Well,
No,
I
see,
think,
I said,
I think
where are
number
the
one
detectives?
that it can be simply explained by the fact that he may have actually 2 guns.
Or
Oh, for fuck's sake, man!
no,
You're
actually,
not trying to figure out this murder.
And-
Fucking buy the game this
This
fall.
game is
No,
so
move it
meta.
up.
Where are the detectives
actually,
now?
just so you know,
Are we
during
ghosts?
during the cutscene following that little fact, I was looking trying to see if I could see that he maybe had 2 holsters.
Oh, for
But
fuck's
no,
sake!
he
You
only
really
had-
are a detective.
He only had 1 holster.
Fucking gumshoe Nick.
But he did have a ghost
You only
cigarette.
saw
You're
the
a
front of his
sleuth,
body.
bro. You're a sleuth.
I mean, look, I think we're
to
just...
make sure you get the warrant.
No, I think
Please kill him.
I think the better explanation might be that he doesn't remember his own death very clearly. So maybe this is just his memory, his interpretation of it.
You
and
are
it's
reading
not-
too much into a game that's not even out.
I am because I can.
I think we're being overly harsh on a
You are
game that...
literally trying to solve a murder where the purpose of the game is to solve the murder, and the game's not even finished.
Okay.
There is no solution to this murder yet, probably.
Let's,
Okay.
I just...
Don't get me wrong. I don't want to beat this game because I'm actually going to play this.
No, you're gonna figure it out right now.
You're going to solve it right now.
Maybe I am.
You're gonna call
But-
up the developers and say, "I got it.
I mean,
I got it." There
again,
was a
this-
second
So
gunman.
This is the first
Meta.
gameplay
He met
demonstration
the bat.
of this game. You know,
It was
a
interesting.
bunch of this was probably built just for demonstration purposes to illustrate basic mechanics. So odds are some of that content probably either will be in the game or will be completely expanded upon
I
upon
feel
the final
like
product.
this would be like a better David Cage game.
No, we're not going down the
No,
David.
you wanna
Cage
do that
route.
again?
Like a
But David
Cage.
Cage.
We can do that joke again. A lot of people are in new chat.
But David Cage. I mean, he does make games like this, and I'm glad that this game
People
is
in
like
chat are
this.
trying to figure it out too. Someone in chat goes, "Did he have a partner?"
See, everyone's getting into it. This game is brilliant. It's not really the game; it's figuring out what's wrong. with the game.
Maybe we're not giving it enough credit. Maybe these are all intentional things, and we
See?
weren't supposed to notice them.
See, they're like art people. It's very artsy.
I think it's a fucking demo, and you're reading too much into it.
I think the game looks great.
They're like the
Okay.
They're like the
Good.
Die Antwoord of the video game industry.
And it only upsets me the fact that this game is not on next gen consoles, despite the fact that it launches next spring.
Can I ask you something, Brad? Speaking of next-gen consoles, Dark Souls is coming out in March 2014, 5 months after next-gen consoles come out.
Yeah,
Yes,
What?
what are you talking
Because
about?
they can.
That's going to happen for years.
that's going to happen for at least 2 years past.
So how long do you think it's
Even
going to be?
more than that. I
How
mean,
long-
think about the PS2.
Why don't they just announce a next-generation version of Dark Souls 2? Do you think that's going to happen? That's got to happen.
Huh?
That's got to happen.
Well, I'll play the PC version. I will.
You say that, but you have to remember this is Bandai Namco, and the Ted Tales producer came out a few days ago and said that they weren't going to go to next gen until they felt that the market had allowed them to do it.
Japanese
And it
developers
They had an
actually
install
took-
base on that first.
Most Japanese developers actually took a really long time to finally transition into the next generation.
Yeah.
Like think about how late Persona 4 came out. Catherine was actually the first ever next generation game from Atlas, and
Yeah.
Catherine came out a couple years ago.
Yeah, I know. I was because when they announced the release month, I was like doing the math in my head. I'm like, wait a second, that can't be right. I must be miscounting.
No,
the
no,
months.
no. There's like
Yeah.
plenty of awesome games came out after the launch
Yeah.
of next gen, like God of War 2 and Shadow of the Colossus and stuff. And
I'm just gonna have to be switching my consoles around.
Splinter
anyways.
Cell Chaos Theory came out just a scant few months before the 360 came out.
Anyway, sorry.
The reason it's different is because Microsoft completely abandoned Xbox One when it launched the 360.
they did.
So it's not going to work like that now. Yeah. But since you brought up Dark Souls 2, how about we talk a little bit about
Dark Souls 2.
Dark Souls 2? Would y'all like to hear about Dark Souls 2, Chad?
We saw Dark Souls 2 today, and Brad played it.
I played Dark Souls 2.
And I'm
I
kind
got my ass-
of interested.
I got my ass handed to me by Dark Souls 2.
Dark Souls 2. Everyone was worried that it was going to be easier because of the more accessibility they were talking about, which has nothing to do with the gameplay. It has everything to do with character creation.
Yeah.
From what I'm seeing, from how the AI reacts, this game's going to be harder because you can't. It's going to be harder to game the system the way you could in Demon Souls and Dark Souls. Like the AI now, if he gave a good example, and I saw it happen on multiple occasions, when you take the AI sort of learns how to fight you by watching what you do and responds to what you do in a more active manner. So if it sees you taking a health potion and you're within somewhat range, while you're taking a health potion, it will charge you and try to get a strike in.
Yeah.
It's actually done that in the past. I mean,
But now it more actively does it. They say the AI, even at higher levels,
bosses and stuff will do that.
acts more like PvE than anything else.
Yeah.
But I
Or
mean,
PvP.
But you glossed over the character creation, which is kind of interesting, and I completely understand. Like now, it makes perfect sense when they threw a word around like accessibility. It makes perfect sense when addressing that, because a lot of people do start Dark Souls and they don't really understand that these classes are not really classes. They just sort of pick whichever one they think sounds good, and they think they have to play it a certain way. A lot of people, lot of people make that mistake.
Yeah.
Now they sort of ask you, they ask you sort of what kind of fighter you like. They let you pick the stats. The stats. They explain the stats to you. They let you pick which stats you want for your character, and they create a class based on your decisions for you. So if you pick a lot of like strength and endurance or whatever, it might make you like a Temple Knight or something. And but like previous Dark Souls, you don't have to stick with that either. They're just trying to make the beginning of the game a little more understandable for new players, which is the perfect place for, to use the word accessibility.
yeah.
I guess another example would be, well, I don't know if this is an example, but this is, again, I have lots of details for hardcore Dark Souls fans, of which there are a lot. Now, bonfires, you can warp anytime you want. You don't have to, have a certain item. It's not only certain bonfires. All bonfires you can warp around once you get to them. Which is different than it used to be.
I mean, if you're still worried after hearing this about this game still being easier, when Joseph and I were watching one of the head guys play through this demo, we saw him die just within 2 minutes.
No shit. Another one of the changes, they want to talk about the dual swordsman. I want to give you the details on this because I know Mike always plays games with dual swords, even when the systems don't really support it. Now, remember, he was saying that in Dark Souls 1, it didn't actually support proper like dual swordsmanship. You were essentially just holding two swords and two swords, but it wasn't really a two-sword system. Now, you actually, you have a weapon in each hand. You hold down the triangle button. You actually enter a dual sword stance, which will actually use both weapons to attack. And you can't parry, but it's actually a lot more powerful, kind of like double-handing weapons. So that's kind of cool. Gives you more options for how to approach. So there was in the gameplay demonstration that they let us play. There was that boss, the Mirror Knight, which we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
And they said that only one person at the entire conference had beat him.
Yeah.
And that person actually used dual swords, which can't even block.
Oh, nice.
He just sort of dodged perfectly and attacked him that way,
Nice.
which is kind of cool. But they also mentioned stuff that this is a new engine. They mocapped a lot of the animations this time. But let's talk about this boss, because that was actually really cool.
Yeah.
At the end of the demonstration, there was this boss called the Mirror Knight, and it was your typical giant knight. I'd say it's about 3 times the size of the player, and he had like a giant sword and a giant mirror shield. But he had this attack where he'd fucking slam his shield down onto the ground, and it would start like glowing, and another like enemy would shatter like out of the front of the shield. And in the demo, that was an AI controlled character, but he said in the final release of the game that that attack where he summons dudes is actually going to be real life players that are summoned from their game to go to be like minions in this boss battle, which is especially crazy when you start thinking like how often he does it. You could be fighting, like, instead of just fighting a boss, fighting like 2 human enemies alongside that boss.
Damn.
Which is just a really fucking cool concept, and another just outside the box way of thinking as far as like enemy design and just how to use like a server and like multiple people connected to the same server. Mm-hmm. I just fucking love that.
Really neat. It's really
neat. Also,
words.
Talk, because I just lost my thought.
Oh well, I mean, according to, other than the the new engine itself, as soon as Dark Souls 2 starts, you notice how better it looks, how much smoother.
Yeah, there's like weather effects and stuff now. The lighting seems a lot better.
Yeah, there's what is it, like higher textures, cloth textural like movement and stuff.
It just looks really
It's
nice.
just really nice. Yeah.
Even when I went out to play the PS3 version, I was surprised how much more stable and smooth it was than Dark Souls, than Dark Souls 1.
Yeah, I wanted to play it. I went in and I did that talk with you, but then I had to leave and get to my Bethesda appointment. So it's kind of,
I did ask about Dano, not Dano, Jesus Christ, Jager wanted me to ask about a couple of things like multiplayer and covenants and changes to that stuff, but they were giving no answers to those questions.
Yeah,
but
Wait, what did you want to know about?
There are some interesting changes. They're just multiplayer and the covenant systems and how servers were going to work as far as multiplayer goes. There's interesting stuff like knockback physics with like giant weapons. Now I was using this giant sword in this demo. Like there isn't that really easy like backstab animation that you could do before to get like instant kills. You actually have to do backstabs like old school way. It's hard to explain, but it's just from what I understand, it's harder to parry, and when you parry, it actually triggers like a stun animation. Then you go over there and do your animation. And there was one part where because some dude asked him, but you can actually dual hand shields for extra defense this time around, which is a really cool.
So let's say you just want to get out of an area, like you can just dual wield a giant shield and run out.
Nice.
I also like there was a new healing item called a life gem. I don't know if it was in the previous game, but the Estus flask, anytime you heal, you're frozen in place and you can't really move. But with the life gems, they restore your health like over time, like quickly, but you can actually move while you're healing, which is kind of cool. It sort of changes up that little dynamic between like those really tough one-on-one fights. But I ended up dying miserably when I was playing it in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
There was this thing called like a turtle knight. It was like a knight up in a suit of armor. It was like fat with a big kind of shell on him, kind of.
Like a Ninja Turtle?
Yeah, kind of like a big armored Ninja Turtle. Yeah. And he did this back slam and killed me in one hit.
I love the torches now.
Oh yeah, the torches can be used as weapons, and they just make the lighting. I mean, the lighting looks so good when you're walking around it in the pitch black with a torch.
Yeah,
it just looks so fucking good.
And I'm wondering if. And they only stay lit for a certain amount of time, and he didn't really have an idea of how long it would be. And I'm wondering how it is if you're trapped in a basement area and your torch goes out, and you didn't bring another one, and now you have to make it out in the pitch blackness.
Yeah, in the pitch black.
Like that'd be a great moment.
I don't mean dual shield. I mean you can dual hand guard with shields now, like you could with swords. But sorry, that's it for Dark Souls. Yeah. I mean it's more or less a very similar game to the last one, but because Dark Souls is a game where, every inch is memorable, to get a completely different game in that series, a completely new game in that series, it's just
was
really
this demo
exciting.
set in like a dungeon, or was this more of an open world kind of thing?
It's in a dungeon, but it's still open world.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering how different the open world is going to be from Dark Souls 1.
No, it's going to be completely different.
Yeah.
Like this is not the same world.
It's a whole different world.
I don't know.
It's a whole new world.
Don't even start.
No Blight Town this time around.
All right.
Dare close your eyes.
I'm like sweating.
How about we talk about Thief real quick?
Yeah, let's talk
Bounce
about
back to Square Enix. We played, I keep saying we played. We saw a demonstration for Thief. I walked away from it pretty underwhelmed.
So tell me exactly why.
I feel like there was nothing that was shown in this demonstration that is something that I haven't seen in another game before.
Okay,
Predominantly
but that's
other
because you
first-person
recently
stealth games.
played Dishonored,
And I mean, it's just any first-person's.
which Dishonored was not like a lot of the other games that were coming out.
No,
in the
I mean,
past
sure, yes. I
decade?
mean, this definitely does kind of channel the same vibe that maybe Dishonored has.
You
in
would
terms
feel
of this-
totally different if Dishonored never came out.
you would.
Maybe that's right.
Yeah.
Maybe so. But why does that give it a pass?
But,
Oh, that's it,
but
because-
what is that?
I'm not saying it gives it a pass. I'm just saying it's interesting how Dishonored was based on a lot of things Thief did.
Yeah,
I'm just saying the only like unique thing to this demo I thought was the two things was the like the water arrow he was using to put out
Well, there's multiple types of arrows.
but he only
In the demo, they only use the water arrow.
yeah, so
And then
but
noise
that's
and the
unique
blunt
to
arrow.
Thief. That's been done before, obviously, but that was unique and something I hadn't seen before. But then there's also just the way the character kind of moves, like the way you dart. It has a really good sense of place in the world because you're constantly seeing your hands and your feet, and and it has really smooth animations when you're
They'll
climbing on
grab
things.
and corners and stuff.
And that makes you feel really connected to the world, which is awesome. But other than that, it just looked pretty much. I mean, like any other stealth game I've ever played before.
Any other stealth game.
Any other first-person stealth game I've ever played before.
I think,
but the only
the
first person's. You mean Thief?
Okay, whatever. Yes, whatever. Thief. I'm just telling. There's nothing about this demo that stood out to me.
You
as
mean like
unique.
Dishonored?
Do you like Dishonored?
Yes, I love Dishonored.
What about it? What about Dishonored specifically do you really like? That isn't
the sense of freedom, the sense of place in the world with your character. The world itself is gorgeous. The story was really interesting. The way you traverse the environment was really interesting. There wasn't a whole lot in this demo that, I mean, the only outside of moving through the shadows that he did was regular platforming, which was kind of like Tomb Raider-esque because it pulled out.
But that was in a very specific example. Actually, most of the platforming was just kind of your Dishonored platforming sans Blink, where you can climbing up and mantling and
nothing about this game struck me as bad. I mean, it looks like it's going to be a solid game.
Okay, well here let me explain myself. The reason I really like Dishonored, and if you go watch my top 10 video, you'll know this, it has a lot to do with level design. Sort of approaching it like a place in the way you want. I guess the other game that would have been kind of like Dishonored recently that we saw was Deus Ex Human Revolution. I mean, those are two standouts in a style of game that we haven't actually seen in a really long time. And
agreed.
And just the ability to approach a place in a world.
I mean, I'm sure I like this game because it reminds me of both of those games you just mentioned.
Which is funny. Well, okay, like Dishonored, it's just a modern interpretation of Thief with magic, with like magical powers.
Okay, so what you're saying? Okay, but I didn't play the original Thieves.
No. So your frame of reference is Dishonored.
No. But what I'm saying is, what you liked about playing Dishonored is the same kind of stuff you're gonna like about playing Thief ultimately when it comes out. Same with Deus Ex.
I think you're just a little burnt out on Thief and Deus Ex, and now you're seeing this.
And it's also, I mean,
I get what you're saying.
The thing is, they say they give you the choice of, using combat in this game if you want, but obviously the focus here is on stealth.
Yeah,
and
they give you a lot of like you have a focus meter, which is kind of like your magic gauge or whatever. You have a focus meter, and that contributes to a lot of ways that you can. Sort of stealth around. Like you can activate it to see traps to help you pick locks quicker, to trigger that lock picking mini game. You can like see items out in the wild in the dark and stuff, and that all feels very kind of Dishonored. But I still like that it does seem very Thief. Let's pretend Dishonored doesn't exist, and it does seem like a nice modern evolution of Thief. Like I like how the maps. Like you have a little mini map up in the corner, but your actual map is still that like that rough drawing of the place with X's here and like maybe go this way.
I feel like maybe I would enjoy this game, or I would have enjoyed this demo more had they given me some context about maybe the story of the game, because without context it was just kind of a
so he did set it up. You're Garrett and you're a master thief, and that it's refreshing to know that. The focus is still on stealing shit, and one of the things I liked is like you have to steal like this ultimate, this fucking I don't even know what it was, but this thing which he didn't even know what it looked like, but he just knew he had to steal it, and the whole mission was about getting in, finding that, stealing that. There was actual puzzle solving too, to like actually unlocking the thing, which is cool. That's not something you see in Dishonored.
I did like the puzzle. There's a puzzle that you have to access this chest, and you have to turn these. There's statues on either side, and you have to turn these things to line up these decals on either side. One of you line up one, but the other side is scuffed out. It's worn down, so you can't see it. But you're able to peer into the hole in the side of the...
See the lock mechanism.
And you can see the lock mechanism on the inside and see where you have to turn them to get them to line up inside.
Yeah. One thing you have to remember is that historically, and this with Thief might be different, but Thief was never a story-heavy game. It was more like challenge levels. Yeah. Like here's this thing you must steal here. Here's this
I'm
sure this thing's going to be different because everything is very cinematic.
No, but there's one thing we're not getting at here, and that's that the stealth in Dishonored was not very good. Like it didn't communicate to the player very well, sort of when you could be seen, when you couldn't be seen. A lot of times people were just sneaking around because they were way up on fucking rooftops, blinking around. But in this game, they actually give you like some clear concise mechanics that help you really understand
You
when
also
you can be
spend-
seen and when you can't be seen. The gym returns that shows you sort of when you're spotted and when you're not, which is very much.
I also didn't like that.
There's also
when-
like the shadows thing where you can like dodge from shadows to shadows.
Yeah, but I didn't. One of the things I wasn't too keen on was it has this like the inner shadow around the screen that kind of creeps in when you're
That's a little
hiding.
annoying.
And since you spend most of the game
a little much.
in hiding,
The
it's
thing
always
is,
there.
you have the gym, so it's like what's the point? But I like some of the other little things, like when you were doing the puzzle solving, or like when he was investigating like the painting, looking for like a secret switch. He actually like moved his hand around it until he actually found the switch on the painting and then opened it up that way. And I imagine that's just sort of a mechanic in the world, and you could probably do that with any painting, not just to find that key thing you were looking for.
I hope so.
But maybe like treasures, because in Thief there's
might
often
be,
treasures
I
behind
think you might
paintings
be
and stuff.
presuming a bit much.
I
I don't
I'm
think
ho-
it's gonna be
when
like
I
that.
saw that, I was hoping, geez, I hope like I can do this in a lot of different places, and it's just not this one little story area that's going to be blinking.
I would be surprised if you could do it. in every
I
game.
would be too. I hope, but I'm more with Nick. I think that's how it's going to work.
But as far as like back to stealth mechanics again, making them a lot more like clear in design versus sort of like the clumsiness of Dishonored is you like the way you can sort of grab the edge of a corner and actually like sort of peek around that way. That's really
that's
cool.
what-
It's not that sort of leaning your head out kind of thing.
Garrett is also not as combat savvy as the guy in Dishonored is, so I mean, you'll be killed a lot quicker.
If both times that he used like the stealth takedown,
Uh-huh.
it was the exact same animation.
Well,
It-
see,
it remi-
that's
very,
Deus Ex.
That's very Deus
That's
Ex.
Deus Ex.
Remember in
They-
Deus Ex when you
Yeah.
sneak up on
Same
somebody,
thing.
it goes into the third person viewpoint.
Yeah, but
I
it
really
would
hope you
also-
could turn that off.
Metro Last Light did that too.
See, okay, here's
Really?
the thing.
Did
The
it?
thing in Deus Ex,
Yeah.
it was contextual.
You tapped around the corner and you just punched him in the face.
The thing is, if in Deus Ex it was more contextual, depending on where you were, it would do a different animation.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, not often.
No,
I mean,
no,
no,
it
no,
did.
it
No,
was-
I've
it
punched
was-
out every single fucking bum I saw.
No,
Trust me.
Yes, I know, but there were multiple animations. It may not be a whole lot, and you may have seen a lot of them
It did
a
change
lot
up.
of times.
It did change
But
up.
in Metro Last Light, every time you do a stealth takedown, it's the same animation. You grab his shoulder, punches him in the face.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Every
I'm
single
not talking
time.
about. I imagine you're going to see some variety in Thief as well. It is the same company.
I
It's Deus Ex.
personally, I was a little underwhelmed by Thief, but for different reasons than Nick. I enjoyed everything from the first section. I thought, oh great, it's stealth. I feel like I'm playing Thief. I'm using water arrows. I'm using rope arrows. I'm using blunt arrows. This is kind of cool. The combat was kind of shoddy, but it's still pre-alpha, so they'll probably fix that up. And it's not even about combat anyway, so that's fine. I started having a problem during the second half of the demo when you get into this. You start to try to cross a bridge and it catches on fire. And there's this very, very long bridge escape sequence that's really extended out.
You know what I loved about
Um,
that sequence?
What's that?
Every time you come, so it's burning down around you and things
Yeah.
are collapsing. Every time you come into a room and there'd be like a guard and he'd be like, oh, like reaching out to you, he would always get crushed by someone
Oh,
falling.
it was
Scripted
like-
bullshit.
I know, but it happened
That-
four
that-
times.
That can't be like the typical thing you're going to see.
Well,
in this game.
I
think they were
you
trying.
you say that, and I hope you're right. But I don't like
This
the fact.
is from the
listen,
guys who made Deus Ex. That's why I trust them.
Well, you're a little too trusting in general, I think, when it comes to video games.
This
No,
is from
you're
the same
What?
team.
I'm joking.
Wait, is this the same team?
I don't know if it's the same
Yeah.
team.
Well, I mean, it's the same
No,
studio.
it was a separate team for a long time, and they probably combined the teams to
They did.
finish this up. So, but then there's this part where you're going out, and you actually do platforming, and it goes into third person, and it looks like Tomb Raider platforming.
Yeah.
And I don't really care for that.
You know,
It takes me out of the element of the game. It takes me away from the immersion.
Well, don't
You
call it platforming. And the reason I'm
It's not
saying that
platform,
is
it's climbing.
because you actually do a lot of jumping around in the first person.
Okay, this is third
Most
person.
of this thing, it was just the climbing
I
part
think
that
people,
was third person.
yeah, I think people know what we're talking
You know-
about.
you know
It's
what this
that
reminds me
third-person
of?
climbing thing.
And I want to hear what you had to say about this, Brad, because you know what this bridge sequence reminds me of, and I don't think it's deserving of a pass because of it. It reminds me of Hitman Absolution, where it's like this just linear action sequence that connects to more open areas. Like remember talking about the whole running from the helicopter sequence in
But
Hitman
this
Absolution?
this
It's the
this
same
is something
shit.
different. I'm
No,
telling
it's
you,
the same shit. It's just another linear action sequence that bridges to open areas.
So far.
And in Hitman, you were giving it all kinds of shit. Why is this okay?
this was just a wrap to a level. I promise you.
That's what I said about Hitman, and you were like, no, that's not. That's
No,
not
the
good.
whole level was that. Like this was a wrap to a level where a building got set on fire. I promise you, you're not going to be buildings aren't going to be burning down around you at the end of every fucking level.
No, but I didn't say you were going to be running from helicopters every fucking level of Hitman either. But somehow in
Nick has a
Hitman, it
point.
was a problem.
Except you were escaping the cops in almost every fucking level.
No, but you weren't running through hallways.
There were different action set pieces in Hitman, but like,
you're also really kind of like underselling what you were actually doing in those moments. You know, in Hitman, you were actually dodging from cover to cover while a helicopter was shooting at you. Mm-hmm. When he was escaping, he was still like able to loot. He was still doing some like puzzle solving, like shoot this thing so that boat comes over there and you can climb on it and get across.
But Brett,
it was still kind of like
I thought looting got in the way of you experiencing the world.
Well, then you don't actually listen to the podcast. Looting.
Let's talk about BioShock Infinite, shall we? No, I'm joking. Totally joking. I'm giving you
looting
shit.
is the point of
I know.
him. He is a master fucking thief.
I'm giving you shit.
And the stuff you find is like
I'm giving you
significant.
Shit. It's called giving you shit.
I know. But I want to make sure that you actually understand that I wasn't crazy and I had a good point.
I do understand.
And that my core point was that the looting in BioShock Infinite was to only pick up insignificant shit.
I understand. My point is about Thief is I want it to be much more like the first section and if that section and not much like the second half. That's my only concern.
Like
that's it. I want to be sneaking and looting and whatnot. I don't want to be running through burning buildings.
Like I'm so confident that that's not what this game is.
I hope so. I'm not confident just because I'm just not confident. But
the thing with Hitman is like most of what we saw in this demo was fucking Thief.
Yeah.
Like straight up.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And you know I've been giving I've been going on rants in the past month or whatever about having linear level design versus places, and Thief is an example of a game that has always done places really well. And like here's these few square blocks. There's a building in the middle of that block. Somewhere in that building, you need to get something out of it. Figure out how to get in there and get it and get out and that's the core of it. Like this thing at the end there was just an escape sequence. They probably wanted to show it because they thought it looked cool. And the thing with Hitman, everything they showed when they introduced Hitman didn't feel like Hitman at all. This game doesn't have this problem.
And I hope when it comes out, you're right. Because yes, the first level did have that sort of dynamic, sprawling level thing. Deus Ex Human Revolution had that too. It's insane people. I am hoping that you're right, and most of the game is like the first section, and I'm not spending an enormous amount of time doing a third-person climbing section.
The thing is, I feel like you're really describing it in such a like awful way. You're putting thoughts of like this second part was like Hitman Absolution when it really wasn't.
It wasn't like Hitman Absolution, but it wasn't Thief.
But
that's the point I'm trying to make.
Like that's not really true though.
But it is.
Because there were like more story related sections in some of the Thief games.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Right. Where it's a little more linear, ultimately getting you to the point where it's a lot more opened up.
I'm sure. I'm just hoping there's more of the previous types of things. And this wasn't a lead-in to this new, more action-oriented Thief. That's my concern. That's a lot of people's concern about this stuff. But I love what I saw in the first half. I'm just telling you, I'm concerned about what I saw in the second half, and I hope there's more of the first half.
I'm sure this game will come out and it'll be great. It's
not even about that. I just hope this footage is out there because you're making it sound like it was this terrible thing, and it really wasn't.
I just felt like I started this by saying the demo was underwhelming. I didn't say it was bad. I was expecting more. And I didn't get it. There were things.
What actually did you want this game to be?
He was highlighting things in the environment, like, see that up there? That crazy window, and there's like a pulley system and shit. Like, you could use that to access the building, but we're not going to do that.
But that's the whole point. Like, that's the whole thing of this open-ended level design.
But I want to see that. You know what he did instead? He opened a door and walked through it.
Yes.
That's what he did. I wanted to see him go in the fucking pulley system and go through the roof.
That's like Deus Ex and Dishonored.
But you
well, I'm saying.
Well, in other games, it's just go through the door.
I know, but they could
show off the cool stuff.
They could have just highlighted some of the cooler aspects of it instead of showing the kind of boring.
One thing I did like about all the options he talked about, where waypoints can be shut off in the menus, objects glimmering can be shut off in the menus. You can kind of bring this down.
You can do that.
Yeah, a lot of the more conventional newer stuff, you can take them all off and do like pure realistic run type of stuff, which I'm happy about.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I would have never believed somebody could have brought back Deus Ex and made it great, especially after Deus Ex 2, which got kind of everything wrong in a lot of ways. But they did it, and they didn't only like live up to the original Deus Ex. They did it 10 years later, or more than 10 years later,
without any input from the original team, without Warren Spector being involved in the project.
In an industry where games like that weren't being made.
Listen, don't
Like,
misrepresent what I'm saying. I'm saying I liked 90% of what I saw. It's just that the last part of it kind of worried me a little bit. That's all I'm saying. I think I was a little more positive on Nick for the first sections of it. You know, probably much more because I really like the first sections of it because I love old Thief and stuff. I'm just a little worried.
You're
about
also making it sound like half and half. You probably could have spent a couple of hours in that first part where you're trying to get to that thing.
Probably.
While that tail end would literally probably take you 10 minutes every time.
He did die once during it.
Well, maybe.
All right, that's enough.
Yeah, crushed by burning wood.
But no, one last thing. Remember the first time we saw Deus Ex Human Revolution? What did you come out of there saying?
I don't remember actually the first time I saw Deus Ex Human Revolution.
It was at E3, behind closed doors, Square Enix booth. We came out saying...
I don't fucking remember.
I assume I would have been really jealous if I would have known this.
We came out of there saying I was really underwhelmed. That looked really rough.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
I
came out
have faith
positive.
in these guys.
I came out pretty positive, I think, if I remember correctly.
I don't mind games.
No, on Deus Ex? No, you did not.
I don't mind games looking rough because behind closed doors, E3, everything looks rough. That's kind of the point.
Okay, I understand your point, Brad. And I'm telling you right now, I know this game will probably be great. It'll come out, I'm sure it'll be good.
I just don't really know what you were expecting, is all.
I don't know. I was just like, I feel like
describe a Thief experience that would
I can't. I've never played a Thief game.
No. Like what? But you said you were underwhelmed. Like imagine a Thief game that sounds cool to you.
Look, I understand what Nick is saying. Let me see if I can translate. You've been hearing everyone talk about thief. Oh my god, thief all your life. Then you go and play Dishonored. Then you play Deus Ex Human Revolution. You finally go in to see Thief, and you see Dishonored and Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Yes, there we go.
And you're like, wow, is this what everyone's been talking up? I've been playing this.
You know what I think?
So I understand.
You know what I think of when I think of Thief? I think about that sequence that I've still to this day never seen, but everybody won't shut up about. Thief 3 in this like horribly terrifying sequence that like is apparently one of the scariest moments in video games.
You think Thief is a horror game?
Maybe I did. Maybe I was going to expecting something a little more atmospheric and frightening.
You know, it's weird because of the games that have come out recently. It's almost like unless you played Thief back then, you miss the reference and you miss the experience. You know, like that's kind of lost. So I totally get where you're coming from.
But there's something so inherent in the design that makes us. That still makes it good. Which is that design that makes us.
He didn't say it was bad.
I'm saying it's good. It just I was expecting more. Don't be offended that I was underwhelmed by this game.
No, see, I'm not. I'm just trying to understand why.
I just told you. I think I just.
That is why.
Well.
What Joseph
well,
said
because
is
you saw
exactly
Deus Ex and Dishonored, 2 games you loved.
He played the hell out of 2 games.
God, Brad, can we drop it and move on? I can't explain this to you.
I went and saw Witcher 3, and I saw Skyrim, and I was like, holy shit.
Yes, but people have been talking about The Witcher 3 since you were.
But I saw things in The Witcher 3 that never existed in Skyrim and could never have existed in Skyrim.
I saw things in Witcher 3 that blew Skyrim out of the water, by the way.
I saw things in The Witcher 3 I didn't think were possible in video games. That is a completely different story.
Well, the thing about Witcher 3, not to go off the rails, but Witcher 3 takes some of the best things about old school video games, and contemporizes them, but doesn't lose that foundation.
And you know what's even funny?
Wow,
well,
that's
what's
even funnier?
These games are doing.
Yeah.
You know, I was actually kind of disappointed when he even took out a guard. I thought you were supposed to play Thief without ever even having the option of doing that.
Well,
you shouldn't really. Well, you do. You can play no.
I know,
thing.
but I thought that he was doing that in the demo, and I was like, that just kind of makes this like Deus Ex or Dishonored, which those are great games, and I'd be happy to play another Deus Ex Dishonored clone. But I was kind of hoping it'd be something different, something unique.
I get what you're saying.
That's why I was a little underwhelmed.
Yeah. And you're just coming, Brad. You're just coming from a different experience.
I just respect this style of design so much that,
it's great
that I get frustrated that we saw stuff like.
But I'm not trying to undermine the design of the game. I think it's a well designed. It's going to be a well put together, probably fun game.
I hope so.
I hope so. I don't know how else to explain it. I was expecting something different, and this is not different. This is more of stuff I've already played.
It is a pretty straightforward stealth game about a dude who steals shit.
Which I did.
And maybe you want
he didn't know what he wanted.
I don't know what I wanted, Brad. I don't know what I wanted, but I didn't think it was going to be that. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay.
For once,
I got you, Nick.
For once, I'm negative.
I got you.
For once, I'm a little negative about a game, and all of a sudden he's trying to convince me that I shouldn't be
positive
negative.
one.
Oh God!
Again, I'm not trying to getting on you for not liking it. It was more me trying to understand that. I feel like we put out a message ultimately. When you started bringing up Hitman, I started freaking out. Like, holy shit, these people are getting the wrong idea.
Do you know how bad I wish I could just go down and try and explain to you why I think Dexter is so amazing, but I just don't, because I don't think you're ever going to get it. So just kind of let it go.
I thought Brad liked Dexter too.
Don't even open that can of worms. Anyways, we're gonna take a break.
Yeah,
we'll come back and we'll talk about something other than Thief. I promise.
We should talk about Bioshock.
We'll talk about no
something
no.
I actually may have saw and can contribute to a conversation.
You should talk some next, Chris.
Chris had some.
Chris is still here, by the way, everyone.
Chris had a
nice. I'm here.
Chris had a nice, comfortable, cozy session.
Oh Jesus Christ, he did.
With Call of Duty
Yes, I
Ghosts.
did.
We're going to talk about Chris getting to the VIP section of Activision, so stay tuned.
Call of Duty Ghosts. Chris played some Call of Duty Ghosts, or saw it played, right? Saw it. And we'll talk about Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more Evil Within.
South Park.
Stick of Truth.
Truth.
So
I want to talk about the Crew as well a little bit.
Oh yeah, and the Crew.
I have
So
some stuff as well.
don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. This might be the reason why I didn't enjoy the Thief demo quite as much.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was just too soon. I love Dishonored. I love Deus Ex, but maybe it was just too soon for a clone, or too soon for a game that reminds me of them.
Just don't call it a clone.
Okay, whatever.
It's
Maybe it was just too soon for a game that reminds me of
That's
those games.
mechanically
Maybe
similar.
maybe in 2 years I'd be like, "Fuck yes! I haven't played Dishonored or Deus Ex in forever, and this looks awesome."
so.
I
Well,
think
like,
it's
if-
because
if
it
Metro-
looked a lot like
If
Dishonored.
Metroid Prime, or let's say if Shadow Complex came out, 6 months to a year ago, and then they announced Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate,
Well, don't say that. Game.
would you
We don't know.
would you be nearly as excited about it? Or maybe if it was 3 years ago, you'd be like, okay, it's time for another fucking 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania.
Wait, yeah, of course I would be excited.
Yeah,
I love
but if it was
Metroidvanias.
only been 6 months since you played the last one, the last side-scrolling Metroidvania, would you still be as excited about it?
I love Metroidvanias.
That wasn't my question. I love Dishonored and Deus Ex style games, but maybe this was too soon.
what would you define as soon enough?
I'd give it at least a year or two between.
After I played
it's
XCOM,
been
you could have
years.
given me another strategy, turn-based strategy game, and I would have been like, yes, please.
All right, well okay, I give
I
up.
like what I like. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. You know, if you were to give me a Shadow Complex, a side-scrolling Metroid, and a side-scrolling Castlevania, I'd be in heaven.
You kind of are in heaven though, because you had a really good E3.
No.
You did.
Wait.
Witcher 3.
No Dragon. Well, Witcher 3 was a bright spot, for sure.
Dragon Age 3 announcement. That's more than you were more likely going to get.
Dark Souls 2 hands-on.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to see Dragon Age 3. I wanted to see The Last Guardian. I wanted to see Beyond Good and Evil 2. That's a good fucking E3.
Well,
Hey,
This was a pretty good
This was
E3.
better than last year's E3.
Well, I saw a lot of good stuff last year, too. We all did.
Okay,
We
How about we
played
talk-
Dishonored.
how
In
about
fact, we gave it our game of the show.
why don't we? Yeah, see, and now it's a year later, and we're talking about another game that looks a lot like
and
Dishonored.
that was another instance of Chris was right.
Anyways, Chris, why don't you tell us about your experience at the Activision booth today, where you saw a demo of Call of Duty Ghosts?
Well, let me describe how I got in there first, because I'm a suave individual, as
God.
you are no doubt well aware.
Jesus Christ.
You know, I'm always
God!
There we go.
oh yeah. So I'm leaving the hall. I'm about to go grab something.
Who did you
because
have
I'm
to
fucking
blow
starving.
to get in there?
And I'm leaving, and this young lady comes by. She says, "Excuse me, sir. Do you have an appointment to go to?" I said, "No, I'm about to go grab something." Well, can you do me a favor? I've got to get back to my booth real quick. Can you take this picture of me against this E3 sign? I'm like, okay, yeah, and I do that for her. And she's really cute and nice. I know she's wearing a Call of Duty Ghost t-shirt. I'm like, okay, well, maybe she works there. It's no way I'm going to get in there. So she says, oh, thank you so much. Hey, I tell you what, you're media, right? Yeah. Well, you know the line is around the corner for a Call of Duty Ghost. Tell you what, you come by in about 10 minutes and we'll see about getting you in there. So, sure enough, I show up 10 minutes later and I'm in the VIP section just waiting to...
Let me just say, today, I saw like 5 or 6 game presentations, and at every single one of them, I was either sitting on a chair with no back or sitting on the floor, sitting Indian style. It was terribly uncomfortable. My back is killing me today. And what happens? You go into Call of Duty Ghost and describe your seat.
Oh, it was wonderful. You walk into the theater, and first off, it's padded carpeting. You know, padded walls. Very nice
my feet
theater.
feel so nice.
It did actually. It felt really nice. You go in there and it's leather recliners and with cup holders.
With cup holders.
Very nice.
With cup holders, ladies and
A
gentlemen.
very, very nice raised theater for everybody.
I think we need to go back to this woman.
But let me tell you something.
Wait.
Chris has
Wait,
been
the woman.
lugging around
Yeah.
our
Thank you,
equipment
Joseph.
all E3. If anyone deserved this posh
You can count the number of
treatment,
games that he saw or played on.
one hand,
No,
or
two
two
hands.
hands.
Yeah, two hands.
If anyone deserved some posh treatment this E3, it was Chris Davis.
Let's go back to this woman though for a second. I think it was somewhat presumptuous of her to think that like some awesome like treat for someone for as a reward for taking a picture is to see Call of Duty. I mean, if she was like, "Oh, thanks for taking this picture. Come by and see Call of Duty," I would have been like, "Go fuck yourself."
No, you have to understand.
Give me past the long Bayonetta line, bitch.
Look. She was hired to work at this booth for a few hours, work an iPad, and do appointments. Okay,
Right.
She was risking her job to let me in there. So
She's
that's
not risking her job.
I'm dead serious.
No, she's doing her job.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
No,
because
no.
there was we tried to get an appointment. We couldn't get an appointment with these people.
That's 'cause
the line was
actors-
around the fucking corner. That was pretty nice of her. Okay?
No, don't get me wrong. It was nice of her.
I'm
It
just
was
saying
nice
it's
for her.
funny. It's like, hey, I've got a golden ticket. It's called Call of Duty.
I've got a
I know you want to play the
ticket.
best-selling game ever, don't you?
I've got a
Don't
golden
you?
ticket in my
I'd have been like,
hand.
well, how about Destiny? Can I go see Destiny?
How about
Maybe?
Well,
this?
she wasn't working the Destiny booth, so she couldn't help.
How
me.
about this?
Charlie?
I'm just
Chris?
saying.
You found
Yes.
it, Charlie! The golden ticket!
I
Chris,
did.
I fully admit Brad's being an asshole.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
I was being funny.
It's the same thing with you half the time.
Hey, have you ever seen a comedian?
Half?
They're all assholes.
It's true. It's
So,
true.
except
Except Bill Cosby, thank you.
Have you ever thought about doing
and
stand-up
Dave
comedy,
Coulier.
Brad?
I would hope he would.
He's a deer.
Have you ever thought about doing stand-up comedy?
No.
I feel like I would pay to go see you.
no.
I feel like I would pay to go see
You would be good because you'd be kind of awkward on stage. You'd have this good stage persona.
Just can we move on? We saw South. Oh wait, no. Talk about Call of Duty. I guess.
So
doggy
I
dog.
sit down in my absolutely wonderful leather chair,
Charlie!
and they decide to they first run through this tech demo displaying the new tech in this engine, and it's the same old engine. They just fucking stepped it up.
Did
It's
they
got
fix-
tessellation. A few
Did they
things.
fix the multiple light sources from the sun?
Yeah, that was just like a cinematic trailer
Oh, okay.
bullshit. So, and they showed me 2 levels. The first level is part of that initial trailer, and it's like in this devastated San Diego, like 10 years after this post-apocalyptic event.
Mhm.
And first off, when they do this, you're not playing as like this elite, military guy. You're playing as a pair of brothers with this canine dog that's enhanced with like body armor and all
Wait,
that
you're playing
shit.
Call of Duty and you're not a super soldier?
Yeah, you're not really a super soldier, and you don't. The thing about Call of Duty is that you're part of a much fucking larger effort with like tons of shit going on, but you're also a super soldier during that.
Okay.
I mean, if you've seen any of Modern Warfare 2, you know exactly what I'm talking
I
about.
do. I have played Modern Warfare 2.
Okay, so you remember the Washington scene. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Okay. I mean, this isn't that Call of Duty. This is a more squad-focused, no help coming, you're kind of fucked if you get surrounded kind of thing.
So would you say it feels different?
It does feel a little different.
That's good. I think the game kind of needs that.
It kind of did. So you go through this level, and they introduce the dog. The dog's name's
Riley.
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 And he's a good puppy. He's a good puppy.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
But what's interesting is that
Oh.
this dog is trained to respond to a microphone earpiece in its ear that connects to this tablet. And so essentially, it gives you access to control the dog through a camera. And this dog has the ability to sneak up on people and bark to get their attention. And he does this attack in which he jumps on them, grabs their arm, and when they're on the ground, goes for the throat and rips it out. It's pretty freaking brutal.
Now, can you use the dog to, like, just pull people out into the open where you can take a shot at them?
Yeah, you can have... In fact, that's part of it. As soon as you do that, he orders the dog to, bark at an enemy comes running, and your partner shoots that guy.
Okay.
So
that's cool.
So
I'll give it to it. That's cool.
So this dog seems to be, actually freaking useful.
I'm going to say it now.
You're excited about Dead to Rights? Is that what we're talking about? Dead to Rights?
I'm calling it now. They're trying to pull a
Fable 2
eco here by building up an attachment. Or no, sorry, Shadow of the Colossus. By building up an attachment to your canine partner here.
Then
just so they can take it away.
Kill it.
Fable 2, if you recall that.
You're going to feel an attachment to your dog.
Oh, I played like half of it.
Okay, spoiler alert, the dog dies at the end. And
I was gonna play it!
The dog doesn't die at the
There's
end.
going to be an emotional attachment to your dog. Never before have you experienced an emotional attachment to your dog like this. Yes, there's been games where you've had emotional attachment to horses. I know I made them. But this one is going to be a dog. And a dog, you'll feel like you have an emotional attachment to your dog. And you tell your dog, doggy, go to that house and kill those Arab people. And the dog will go. And never in a video game before have you killed Arab people with a dog. It's quite an emotional part of this game.
Well, first off,
you can save the dog.
They are still not defining who the enemy is in this game, but it's clearly not Arabic or Russian.
Right.
Or Chinese, for that matter. I think it's freaking Spanish.
They're Spanish now?
I know.
They're really going down the list?
Mexicans. Like
Call of Duty 7, those dirty Dutch.
All I know is that the enemies I was fighting were clearly speaking Spanish.
I'm calling it the pirates.
Pirates. Modern day pirates.
Modern day, well-equipped,
Spanish pirates.
Suit pirates. Okay, so they show this level, and for a bit of it, it plays like a traditional Call of Duty tile, running and taking
gunning,
shooting,
would you say? Running and gunning.
Quite a bit of that. And then they show the second level. And this is a level that takes place completely underwater. I mean, 100%. You never go to the surface. Even combat takes place under the water.
Now, you had mentioned this before, and while that sounds cool, I think we voiced maybe some concerns, because usually the excitement of an underwater level is created by going from the surface to underwater and then back up to the surface again.
Well, this guy, man. This guy's been listening to me.
It gives you a stop it. Stop it, Nick. It gives you a sense of place or a sense of perspective that you wouldn't have otherwise. So when you start underwater and you finish underwater, there's something missing.
It's like he could try to make that sound sarcastic, but then he realizes actually that is what makes it.
No, I think you're right.
No, I could have come up with that thought on my own, Brad. Don't you second guess me.
Well, I like to think of this scene as a tribute to a Bond film. If you've ever seen Octopussy,
I've never seen Octopussy.
There was an
I've seen
underwater...
Octopussy.
Although there is an Octomom porno out there now, so technically,
we're not talking about that film.
No,
I'd rather not.
I thought that was
about
Octopussy.
No,
never mind.
That's not what I'm talking about. No, but I mean, you get this underwater gun called an APS or something like that, and it's effective. It kills enemies, and it'll kill sharks and all sorts of bullshit.
When are we gonna get a Kate and Nate porno?
Wow.
That would be a great name for a gangbang porno.
I'm sure it's already been
Kate
done.
and 8.
Kate and 8.
Yeah, I think that's been done.
Touche.
But
She's a bitch.
they
I saw her on an episode of Wife Swap. Man, Celebrity Wife Swap.
So they just go from reality show to reality show.
Why were you
basically?
watching Celebrity Wife Swap?
I think Brad watches really awful television.
He attacks my taste in shows because I love Dexter, but he watches that?
I know.
Wait, what?
Never mind. I don't want to open that can of worms.
Okay, so
Let's
anyway,
continue.
I'll finish up. So he goes through this level. They introduce like depth charges as a way to attack the player from the surface, things like that. And it's kind of cool to see, what's going on.
I want to know.
But what I've gleaned from it, at least from that demo, Call of Duty has always been like a 60 frame per second kind of experience. This was not 60 frames a second.
Now, stuttering.
It wasn't stuttering, but it wasn't 60. but it was above 30.
Was it announced to be 60 frames per second?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I have to wonder if this was still in development.
Pre-alpha?
I don't think there was no label
I
saying
feel like
whether it was alpha.
I feel like
or
the
beta
three main
stage.
themes of this show, of this E3, have been open world. What was the other one we said? There was
Open world looting and scavenging.
looting and scavenging, and pre-alpha.
Transition year. That's
and open-ended
fairly
level
reasonable.
design.
That's
Oh
what
wait, that was only in one game we saw.
Brad. Shut up. So, anyway, it looks good. They didn't demonstrate any of the multiplayer. They didn't talk about that. But I mean, it looks to be a pretty decent Call of Duty game.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that it'll be a pretty decent call.
I know. I'm sure it'll have fun moments.
Yeah.
They usually do. I'm not sure.
I'm sure it'll be a fun 5 to 6 hour roller coaster.
I'd have to take a
ride.
look at the multiplayer because sometimes when I'm feeling a little stressed and I just want some zone out video gaming, I'll throw on some
Here's
Call
the
of
thing.
Duty.
That's what it can
I
do.
feel like maybe that's kind of where they might innovate here.
We'll see.
I don't know. I mean, it's Call of Duty. This is the first next-gen Call of Duty. This is their chance to really beef up their multiplayer and start a whole new
Well, this is
era of Call of Duty
this
gaming.
is full Infinity War.
Oh, this is
not-
Xbox One though, right?
Yeah, this is next gen. I think it was running on high end PC,
Okay.
but even then, it wasn't 60 frames a second. So I have
It'll
to
be
wonder.
PS4 as well.
Yeah, it's more than likely coming to PS4. And
Oh, yeah.
I know it's coming to the Wii U as well, but it looks good. It's gonna be we're gonna have a good holiday. I'm just saying that.
Oh yeah, there's plenty to talk about.
Oh,
Plenty to play.
oh yeah.
Oh my god,
A lot
there's
of
a
play.
lot of stuff to come out.
A lot of stuff coming.
Okay.
Can I talk about PlanetSide 2 real quick?
Oh, you played it?
Imagine that.
Wait, did
Well,
you play it on
Joseph
PS4?
talking about
No,
PlanetSide 2.
I didn't play it. It
Oh.
wasn't available for on PS4, but I did do an interview with one of the developers,
which will be going live tomorrow on 4PP.
a man named Clegg, Adam Clegg. I have his card. I
Clegg?
can't find it now. He's one of the creative designers. Clegg.
Clegg.
Adam Clegg. Anyway, a few things for people who do play PlanetSide for the future.
Pay attention.
He did confirm to me that the lattice is coming to the other continents, including Hausen, and then the goal is to then lattice the continents together, and that opens things for the metagame like
I
kicking
wish I
factions.
knew what that meant.
I know, kicking factions off the continents and things of that nature.
So you would have to launch like D-Day style, invasions of other continents in order to establish a beachhead.
Which would be from a warp zone, correct? Since there is currently no sea combat. But in a way, yes, you'd have to force your way back onto the planet, onto the continent.
Just might be a little nuts.
Yeah.
Especially Drunk Division.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Also, the next infantry that is going to get some love is probably going to be the sniper class, the infiltrators. They want them to infiltrate more.
I would like it if the sniper rifle was actually useful and didn't take 3 shots to kill somebody.
I usually get killed. You might be using the wrong sniper rifle because I get killed a lot by 1 shots. So
Well, you're lucky then.
maybe the rifle you're using. Also, they are talking a lot about light assault, and their main concern is that light assaults can usually kind of lone wolf it, and they kind of want to make them a little more interdependent on the other classes. So they might be doing things to sort of have the classes have to work together a little bit more, almost the way, kind of that the engineer is very interactive with the other classes in a very realistic way throughout the entire battle. They kind of want to bring that to the rest of the classes to sort of incorporate more teamwork. So I think they want to pull back on the lone wolves, but the developers do seem exceptionally, because I know the whole lattice versus hex thing has been a big debate in the PlanetSide 2 community. The developers seem pretty happy with what they've seen from the lattice so far. So I wouldn't expect anyone to expect it to go away. Or I know no one should expect it to go away.
Because it's coming to all continents. So
Yeah, and those
Suck
did
it.
them together. So, but it was a great interview. We had a good talk. He told me he was an NC player,
poor guy.
and I called him a rebel bastard on camera.
So
That's
we'll
fun.
never hear from SOE ever again.
No, we will. It was fun. It was all good and fun. But that was my little talk with a developer at PlanetSide 2. Look for the interview hitting YouTube tomorrow. You guys can see that.
You can access our YouTube page directly from our homepage at 4playernetwork.com.
That's right.
Oh my god, careful, Brad.
Yeah.
Jesus. What else? Anything small we want to talk? Because I think we're going to wrap up with South Park and Wolfenstein and Evil Within. So
Well, I have a couple things to talk about.
Go for it.
let's rattle off some of the smaller things.
Rattle off some of the most significant things. I played the Oculus Rift. I played an indie game. using the Oculus Rift.
What'd you think?
It was called A Tree Screams in the Forest.
Was this your first time with the Oculus Rift?
A tree screams in the forest?
Yes.
I don't know why, but that
This-
sounds
I took
funny.
a picture of this when I was in the other room. It looks like a
But does it
crotchety
make a
old dude.
sound if nobody's around to hear it?
It's like,
God damn.
I didn't see it. It's not showing us.
Oh my god. Okay, Brad, this is a podcast. You can't do this.
Okay.
we'll put a picture of it. Maybe that'll be the
No,
background.
I played a couple of big things. There's a dude in chat. His name is Eric. Eric, are you there in chat? Because we do a live show here at 4pp.tv. He's been asking me all week to play a specific game, and I actually went and saw it. But let's talk about A Tree Screams in the Forest. It's an indie horror game where
But
you're
if
you're
no
walking.
one's around to hear it, does it make a sound?
But I was around to hear it. I was in the forest.
If a mime screams in the forest.
So I was sneaking. You're supposed to walk down this forest path, but then you hear creaking and crackling, and you realize when you look into the forest that some of those trees look kind of creepy, and you realize that they're following you.
The
And-
trees?
the-
Trees are following
Yes,
you?
and the only way you keep them from moving towards you is by looking at them.
Oh,
so it's
like,
the kind of thing when you look away, you hear crack,
so
crack.
the
You hear
weeping-
that you.
They're like booze.
they're like the weeping angels from Doctor Who.
Yeah, or
Or
booze
booze.
from Mario. But it's creepy because when you turn around, they're just trees.
Mhm.
But when you're not looking at them, you hear the creaking and the cracking as they move towards you. And the thing is, so you're looking at it, and you look away and you're like, oh shit, let's go. But then you see creepy trees off in the distance. You're like, wait a minute, that's one of those trees, isn't it? So you just start staring at it as you pass
one
it
of
by, and
them
then you realize that
trees.
the other tree is like right behind you, and you're like,
What happens
It's
if
a very slow paced thing. It's not like fast paced like
Brad,
Slender or
I have
anything.
a very important question about this game. This is very important. What happens if a tree catches you?
You lose, you die. It's a killer tree.
You are forced to leave.
But what's cool is that I was one of the few people. He said I was the only second person that whole day who beat the demo. But when you get to the end, there's like a bonfire, and then it just says "burn them all." And then the trees that were following you, you lure them into the bonfire, and then they all light up on flames, and then you win the
That's
you
dark.
Win the game.
That is kind of dark.
It was a game jam game. But you do this all with the Oculus Rift. So you're like going.
But I mean, you're being stalked by trees in the middle of a forest. Forests are built up of trees.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Sci-Fi's reaction. Sci-Fi says, Brad played a game about trees sneaking up on you? Fuck everything about that.
And the Oculus Rift was really cool, actually. I think some games would be really great with it. You know, you got to get up the resolution some. I mean, this was an indie game, so it wasn't probably the highest. But imagine like a Metroid Prime game or something where you actually use the Oculus Rift. How immersive would that be? It would be really cool.
It would make me play through Half-Life 2 for the 11th
What
time.
if you could play Outlast with the Oculus Rift?
Or, no, Daylight. Daylight.
Or Daylight, I guess. Whatever, nerd.
No, Daylight would be nuts because that's exactly what it is.
What is Daylight?
Daylight is a randomly generated horror game.
Okay,
Sorry,
that's what
we
Zombie
it's
Studios.
procedurally generated.
Right. Procedurally generated.
Don't
Honestly,
start trying
how
to say
much
it
of a
again.
difference is there in
Not
between
much.
randomly generated and procedurally
Not
generated?
much.
Procedurally, random will be random. Procedurally is procedurally.
Thank you.
No, a randomly generated level, there'd be like weird walls everywhere, and maybe you
Thank
couldn't get
you.
through it and stuff. But procedurally generated means that the levels are still you can still go through them. They go by a procedure, not random.
I believe him.
So what is
A random level, you might show up and there'll be a wall right in front of you, and that's it.
So what is Diablo?
Diablo is
Randomly
a
generated.
isometric, loot-based
But
game.
Monster
how
Hunter.
are the levels in Diablo generated?
procedurally.
Wait, is
It
that...
says procedural bases it off your actions.
Yeah, but I mean,
Like
if the
those levels are randomly generated.
But if
and
the level
diagonal.
No, I
is
think
generated
no one will
before
ever-
you even load up the game,
I think random is a misnomer. No one ever should have used the word randomly generated because no thing is ever randomly generated. You don't
Diablo is.
you don't go to Diablo and there's 80,000 demons in there because randomly that could occur,
Yeah,
but that doesn't happen.
it does.
Not like that.
oh, it depends.
There's
on
a
the
procedure it goes by to generate the level.
I don't think either of us really know what we're talking about.
We really don't.
Within too much
I don't think
detail,
any of us
so
are qualified
we
to
should
talk about
probably
this.
just move on.
Probably right.
What else did you play, Brad?
I saw a game that Eric has been wanting to hear about. It's called Lords of the Fallen.
Ah, yes, Lords of the Fallen. We were talking about that last night. What did you think? This is the one by City Interactive, right?
I actually don't know the name of the developer. City
Great,
Interactive
great.
Is publishing it, but I think there's dudes from Poland.
A lot of Poland dudes. in that
Lords
show.
of the Fallen.
Is this coming to Xbox One?
It's coming, I believe, to Xbox One and PS4 and like PC. I mean, it's a next generation title.
Oh, well, I guess they won't be able to play it in their country.
My guess is it's probably starting out on PC. No, it's a they said console game when they announced it. Console and PC. It is a next generation Dark Souls game. It's a bit of a Dark Souls clone, and
What's it called again?
But unlike some
Yes.
people, it reminded me of Dark Souls is a good thing.
I fucking hate you.
I will say,
When did the last Dark Souls game come out?
You mean Dark Souls?
When did Dark Souls come out? 2 years ago?
a year and a half ago.
So would you say maybe it's time to play
It
another
has
game
nothing
like
to do
that?
with timing, Nick.
I think it does.
At least not for me. It is very much like a Dark Souls type game. Its focus is on twitch challenging combat. You have a stamina meter, just like Dark Souls. You know, you're sword and shield style. You're going in there. What do you? Some of those screenshots are not. The thing is, somebody brought it up. Was like, this reminds me of Dark Souls, and he got a little bit defensive. And first of all, he's like, okay, first of all, we're not like hiding our inspiration. Sure, it's like Dark Souls. We were very inspired by Dark Souls and also Borderlands because their skill system is very Borderlandsy.
I was hoping
which
both-
honestly makes it seem a little bit shallow because the skill system in Borderlands is kind of shallow. But the focus is on the twitch combat, not so much the skills or anything. It's
When
about,
I heard it was kind of Borderlandsy, I was hoping the loot system was
no.
Borderlandsy.
I don't think the loot's more like Dark Souls probably.
Yeah.
Just you sometimes randomly stumble into procedurally stumble into significant loot. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. And the combat did look kind of fun and challenging in a Dark Souls way, but and the thing is, when he was pressed on this, and it was just a tiny little thing that set off the developer. He was just like, oh, it kind of reminds me of Dark Souls a little bit. And he was like, what? He's like, we're not hiding the fact that we're inspired by Dark Souls. Hey, anybody here ever heard of Blade of Darkness? Anybody? I raised my hand. He's like, well, Dark Souls was a lot like that game. And it was like, there was actually a game that came out in the 90s that was called something to the moon or something. And anybody ever heard of that? Blade of Darkness was kind of like that.
And then he was like, get the fuck out! Everybody just get the fuck out!
And the guy was just looking like, I just said, this is like, were you inspired by Dark Souls? It was kind of funny, but it looked pretty good. Like it looked like it has a lot of the kind of stuff that makes us like a game like Dark Souls. It's not like heavy-handed on the story. In terms of just throwing cutscenes and characters at you. You sort of discover the story in the world here and there, like a Souls kind of game. But I don't. I mean, it looked good. I'm afraid that maybe what they don't understand is that what the things that make Dark Souls so exciting to people is in the quirky details. And the things that make it kind of, some people think it's kind of an insane game. That's what other people that the fans love about it. There's almost like a sadistic humor to a lot of the stuff in Dark Souls. A lot of like the traps and ambushes and stuff. And there were straight up ambushes in this game too. But like the kind of thing where. In the demo for Dark Souls 2 that they first showed, they had the dude with the two giant throwing axes, and he threw it at the dude, and it stuck in his fucking head, and you just saw a giant axe like hanging out of his head, and it was just kind of silly, honestly. But that's what people kind of really love about Dark Souls, and I think it's definitely a game to keep your eye on. If you always sort of liked the idea of playing through a game like Dark Souls, but maybe you couldn't get over its
bullshit.
like unwavering hostility towards newcomers, just over its like its quirks. Then this could be a game that you really should keep on your radar.
Cool. What else do you have on your list, Brad?
South Park.
Oh,
We got South Park, and we have.
I played a little bit of Phoenix Wright. That was good. Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies. It reminds me that I've only ever played the first Phoenix Wright, and I might pick this up.
Never played it.
Well, then why don't we talk about South Park?
We have South Park, and then we have Wolfenstein, and then I saw The Evil Within.
Okay, well,
And don't forget about the Crew.
Oh, the Crew. Let me talk about the Crew really fast.
Fuck! I have 18 more games I just found. We're gonna be here all night now.
Okay,
Okay.
tell us about the Crew real quick.
There's not that much to say about the Crew. I played the Crew. So I went up, and basically it's two parts. First of all, they do the thing that they've done at every single booth, is they give you an iPad and play the iPad part of the game. So they want you to just kind of develop a car. So I just made my little car and put like a different paint job and wheels and stuff on it. No big deal. They just kind of want to show that off. Very simplistic. If you'd customize your car in like Motorstorm Apocalypse, it's kind of the same as that. Then we played the game, and it was a 4-person objective-based type of thing, to where I had to. It was basically the same demo they showed at the Ubisoft press conference, where you're tasked with basically just taking down a target. The thing about it, though, it was actually really fun. Like, the thing that makes the Crew work is kind of twofold. Number one, the entire map is there. So you can drive from one end of the 5-year-old child's drawing of America to the other end of the 5-year-old's child's drawing of America. And it's so funny. He pulls up the map and he's like, "There it is." And I was like, and I started laughing. And I was like, "Yeah, that's America, all right." So we did this thing, and what makes the Crew really, really work, though, is that it's forgiving and arcadey. Like, the driving physics are forgiving. If you sort of spin out and you lose your target, you press on the right bumper and you hold it down for like 2 seconds, and it puts you right behind the target going full speed. So that's the kind of thing it is. No, but what do you mean, ew? That's like, so if you lose your target once because of an errant turn, like, you just want to be out of the race.
No, I don't
forever?
want that. I just want the game to accommodate for the fact that you've gotten too far away, so it
But can't slow
down
down because there's 3 other live players
So you didn't mention
chasing down. Oh yeah, I'm with 3 other players online trying to do this thing.
that. That's whole of the beast.
Okay, this is this beast. I'm with 3 other players, and we're all trying to take down this car. And not only are we all trying to take down this car and sort of do this objective, we're all trying to be the one who does it. So not only are we going against this car and trying to take it down, we're also just sort of going against each other as well, so it's very competitive. And it was fun. I had a really good time. I mean, the levels are giant and spread out enough to where you can get pretty high speeds and kind of take big jumps, and you're all kind of going in the same direction. It's laid out in such a way that it feels like a race in an open world, and that's usually kind of difficult to do. But I enjoyed myself, and I enjoyed myself a lot more than I thought I would. I mean, when I first saw the Crew, I was like, "Oh yeah, it's a racing game, whatever." And then
I thought the demonstration at the Ubisoft conference was boring.
You gotta play it.
I feel like it's one of those.
It's a lot more exciting when you're playing it and you realize you're playing it with 3 other live people, and you're all sort of competing against each other.
I just feel like there's only so much you could do in a cooperative car scenario. It's like the ultimate is the sandwich, the cooperative sandwich.
Right, yeah.
Where does it go beyond that?
And that's true. And
see-
they didn't really show much beyond that, so I'm interested to see what they come up with.
So did you see? You didn't. Okay, we've had this discussion several times, but I don't remember. Did you see Fast 5?
6?
No, Fast and Furious 5.
No, I didn't.
Did you see Fast 5?
No, I didn't see 5.
But
No,
7.
Fast and Furious 6 is not
I
called
thought maybe
Fast
he
5.
meant 6 because that just came out.
Okay.
Maybe
okay.
he got the numbering wrong.
There's a scene at the very end of the game that I think, or the movie, that would be perfect for this game. It involves you both have this huge, gigantic safe.
Okay, that is actually a gameplay scenario in the new Fast and the Furious game that came out with 6.
Really?
Maybe it's a flashback or something.
Okay, whatever. I want that in this game, and I will be happy.
You can go get that game from the Redbox.
Because, okay, for those who aren't aware, that entire scene, that 10, 15-minute scene, is them being chased by the cops throughout all of, frickin' Sao Paulo or wherever. And they use this safe as a weapon. So as they're turning, they're drifting, they're slamming the safe into police cars and doing all sorts of destructive mayhem.
Cool.
It's a great scene. It's hilarious. But I think that a mechanic like that, an objective mode, would be perfect for the Crew, or
That'd be
shit
cool.
like that.
Yeah.
Just random stuff.
No.
Not the traditional take down these enemies, rob a car by knocking it off
Right.
its wheels.
Yeah,
For
no,
the
I agree.
record, Best car chase in a film?
Steve McQueen.
Bad Boys 2.
Bullet.
Bad Boys 2.
I never
You
saw
not
Bad Boys 2.
You never saw Bullet?
No.
Bullet was the car chase.
Actually, I take that back. The car chase at the end of the Bourne Supremacy is pretty fucking fantastic.
You're hurting me inside, Nick. You're really hurting me inside.
No, sorry.
You need to watch Bullet and see the ultimate car chase.
I'll watch Bullet. Then I'll tell you all the reasons why it's not better than Bourne Supremacy.
Second best car chase?
Bourne Supremacy.
Blues Brothers.
Nope, you're wrong. You're wrong. Get back on topic here. Crew. The Crew.
Actually,
I'm
Blues
more-
Brothers is a good one.
I'm
Actually.
more, on,
really
I'm more on
was.
Chris's side. Here.
Yeah, Blues Brothers is actually really good. Have you seen Blues Brothers?
No.
You haven't
What?
seen Blues Brothers. Well, that's why.
You know what I like about car chases? When
There
they're
wasn't
actual
nearly
car
enough
chases?
death or murder, so I didn't watch it.
You uncultured fuckwad.
When car chases are car chases and not just sort of like movie magic or God forbid CG. That's what they're cool. You know what? Death Proof had a cool car chase
Yeah.
at the end.
Which one's Death Proof?
The one with the car chase. The one with the people that drive the cars.
Oh, I don't know why that's something that was the one I think that made me realize what you were talking about.
Because there's two movies in Grindhouse. One with car chases and one with zombies.
the one with
and
Kurt Russell.
gun legs. And
Rose McGowan with the gun leg.
Yeah.
it's the one with the car.
So anyway, the Crew. The Crew was fun. It was a lot more fun than I thought it was. The reason I went to go play it myself is, like I said before, we first started at Ubisoft press conference. I was like, okay, it's a racer. But then I started hearing a lot of buzz about it at E3 through Twitter and whatnot. And I said, okay, I've been hearing some positive buzz. Let me go try it out. And it was actually a lot of fun. So, but like you said, the one mission we did, the objective mission, was not the most imaginative thing in the world you can do with a group scenario racing game. And I look forward to maybe seeing what they come up with.
Cool.
Oh, what was the other one that we saw that we should? Should we just spend a moment talking about Pac-Man?
Oh my goodness.
Well, here's the thing. Pac-Man DX Plus is coming out.
Yeah, it looks cool.
It does look cool. It's an improvement on Pac-Man.
I think you should film
CE.
impressions of Pac-Man
They're-
on the plane.
They're making a child
So
game
here's
based
what they're
on a
doing.
TV series.
Yeah, it's like the 80s all over again. You guys are not prepared. Pac is back.
Pac is motherfucking
Pac is back, baby. And actually, but they put that on a big screen, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Everybody, Pac is back. Pac is back." He was a Japanese man.
Tagline.
Say it like the old guy.
Hi, and my day was a little thing, and you would go and eat the thing, and you had to be careful of the ghosts. You see, a ghost is very scary. Once, probably my Aunt Millie. She would sit on the porch, and she would
Okay.
peel the eggs.
Looks like
You didn't say Pac is back once in there.
Pac is back.
But
Tupac is back.
they
Tupac.
They did demonstrate. Okay, so real quick, DX Plus is basically Championship Edition DX, which is going to be a free update that's going to come to I believe PSN and Xbox Live owners of DX, and it's going to add new challenges and stuff like that. It's also going to have DLC, which is based on classic Namco games.
Yeah.
So there's an entire map that's based on Dig Dug.
We are actually talking about Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Okay, so
It's like, so I'll continue.
No, but this is
So
Pac-Man though. But
it's
like
actually
Dig Dug.
it actually looks fun. Okay, it looks pretty fun.
Well, it looks fun, but it's basically Pac-Man
It's
Championship
basically
Edition,
Pac-Man.
but with a Dig Dug skin on it.
It is. It really is.
You know,
but
they-
it's kind of fun.
When I think about it, the presentation was a little sad. Because he's
You know
like,
what else is sad?
Pac-Man,
That we've been talking
look,
about this for like...
now a Dig Dug. You know, So anyway, but the thing was, but the takeaway
he
from
was
this,
trying.
the
okay?
takeaway from this is the Pac is back, and
And
there's
we did mention the third game.
no, but I'm
okay?
getting there. There's
Pac-Man World.
well, so there's a children's cartoon that's coming out
Yeah.
Monday through Friday. It's a Pac-Man world, and he eats ghosts, and he saves the other pack people.
But it
goes.
forgive me, but this is clearly 7 and under kind of quality.
Yeah, but then they're going to do is then they have a series of toys they're putting out. Pac-Man
Yeah, they've
toys.
got a whole toy line.
A whole
built for
toy
this.
line
And
built
they've got
from
the
the cartoon.
video game to build into that toy line to build into that television series. But that's not what I'm talking about.
What
I'm
we're
talking about
saying is the
third
pack is
game.
back.
There's a third game. Okay,
Can we get to Half-Life 3?
Okay, just shut up for one goddamn second, okay? This game, we played it. We actually played this, and it was fun. I believe it was called Battle Championship.
Pac-Man
It
Battle
is
Championship.
basically it's Pac-Man Championship Edition meets Pac-Man Versus. If you ever play Pac-Man Versus,
Actually, this sounds kind of interesting.
okay, this was one of my favorite moments from the GameCube, okay? For those who are unaware, the basic idea behind Versus was that you had 3 people playing as ghosts on the GameCube, and then one was playing as Pac-Man on a Game Boy Advance. This time around, everybody is Pac-Man, and you're competing to actually kill or eat each other while avoiding ghosts.
If you played the Luigi's Mansion minigame on the Wii U part, what was the Wii U game that came out?
It was the Nintendo Land.
Nintendo Land.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a similar design philosophy.
Yeah, so there's 4 Pac-Men, and whoever gets the pellet, they get really big.
Yeah.
And then now you have to, if you don't have the pellet, you have to avoid the giant Pac-Man, and at the same time avoid the ghosts as well.
Yeah.
So you can die from being eaten or from getting killed by the ghosts.
And you know what? I really enjoyed
We
that.
did,
was
we did
fun.
fun. We played a bunch of rounds all together, everyone in the room, and it was a good time.
I think it's something to consider.
And what we're saying is the pack is back.
The pack is back.
Pack
You know
is
what else
back.
is back?
I'm now done. You may move on to whatever the fuck you want.
Baby,
I had a little fun.
baby's
today.
got pack.
It's the only game I played today, man.
should have given
It's
it
the
your-
only game I fucking played.
You should have given it your Booth Award. I bet it got none.
Stop, collaborate, and listen. Pack is back with a brand new edition. Is what I'm saying.
You know what's the only game I played today?
Pellets, baby.
Actually, no, I'm not gonna. All right. How about
What did you...
let's talk about South Park?
Let's talk about South Park.
My God's never gonna...
Which, by the way,
William?
we did an impressions piece, Joseph and I, which you can watch on YouTube tomorrow.
All right. We saw South Park and the Stick of Truth, a game that has been very tightly wrapped.
Nolan is long gone. Poor guy.
We actually, we inadvertently, like we joked about it at the beginning, but we actually
gone?
waited till the very end to talk about South Park and the Stick of Truth. This is a game that has been so tightly under wraps that no one has really been able to tell when they're seeing screenshots of the game versus seeing cutscenes in the game.
Which is kind of ironic.
Because the screenshots have always looked like episodes of the TV show.
Wait, he's here. We should stop talking about it.
Let's
And
move
I
on.
am here to tell you that is because this game looks exactly like a fucking episode of South Park in motion.
It is incredible how much it looks like the TV series. It is amazing, even down to the character movement. How just janky it is with them just hopping across the fucking screen.
Yeah.
That's it.
They made it look shitty enough to look exactly like a
It's
South Park episode.
incredible.
Yeah.
It really is quite. We've been actually seeing screenshots of this game for months now, not realizing it because this game looks exactly like an episode of South Park. It's got the humor down pretty well. I felt a little awkward watching the demo because there was this nice young lady there demoing it, and she had to give this spiel about farting.
There's a lot of farting.
See, that's my one issue, and we'll get to this later, is that even for a South Park episode, the bathroom humor is a little over the top.
Yeah,
The thing is, I think they crammed a lot of stuff into this demo.
you can press a button to fart forever. Just hold it down.
Also, you can
Just keep farting
You can shit in a urinal and then loot the urinal
and take the shit.
and take the poo as an item that you can use in battle.
Yeah, which was rather
So
fantastic.
wait.
So-
Let me set this up a little bit because I don't
Okay.
think we're doing a great
No, go
job.
ahead, go
Because
ahead.
a lot of people have been wondering about what exactly you do in this game. Like how does it work?
Okay, set it up.
So the area that they were in was a school, and you sort of you can walk through the stages. It's not side scrolling, but there is some like depth
Okay,
to
you're
where
doing
you
it.
can run around. But I should say that when you're not in battle, when you're just sort of exploring the environment, you have like various tools and abilities, and you can interact with the environment and the people in the environment, almost like adventure game style. And you're actually solving little puzzles by like using your slingshot or using your little fart in hand and then throw the fart move.
Okay. So
like fire to trigger like explosions and stuff. It's a very adventure game. Outside of battle.
This game is set up. All the kids in South Park are participating in this like
LARPing session,
live action,
gigantic LARPing
session. So everything is themed around like it's an RPG or whatever. And so in the beginning of the game, they're split between two factions. One is led by Cartman, who is the leader of the humans. Kyle is the leader of the elves.
And Stan.
Yeah,
Stan
Kyle and Stan are the leaders of the elves, and they've split over. They're bidding for power or control over the Stick of Truth, right? So you, playing the new kid in town, have to choose allegiances between Cartman or Stan and Kyle. But at the beginning, you're aligned with Cartman, so you're trying to take back the school from Stan and Kyle and find out the location of the Stick of Truth and take it back. And so as you're going through, you're exploring the elementary school. Everyone is like, so the people that are the kids that are working for Cartman or for Stan and Kyle are like actively trying to defend the path to, that you're taking to find Stan and Kyle, in other words, and find the Stick of Truth. So, and they have like barricades set up using like school desks and stuff, but you'll do things like you can like hit a pipe and let water come out of the wire, and then like take something that's electrified and like shove it in the water and like electrocute
It's a car battery.
Yeah,
but that was one of the special moves. The combat system is actually very reminiscent of the Mario and Luigi RPGs.
It's a turn-based combat
It's old school
system.
Final Fantasy, turn-based.
It's
but very specifically kind of like the Mario and Luigi games, where it is a turn-based battle system, but there are like timing and action prompts in like the special moves, especially like when if you hit a button like right before you attack, for example, you'll do more damage. Or like for the special attacks, they might require you to like sort of like mash on a button, for example.
That's probably the most recent example, but there's been a lot.
Well, Mario RPG, if you will.
Well, not just Mario games. There was a couple of Final Fantasy titles that work like that.
Final Fantasy VIII, where you can hit the trigger button when you slash the sword to also shoot. But Mario RPG, I think, is what kind of started all
I think the most interesting thing about that, what I thought was really cool, was that all of the attacks in the game are like, so like you'll have like a fire spell or an ice spell, like you would normally have an RPG, but they're modeled after what kids would do to recreate them in like play.
Right.
Yeah, they have these epic names, but
so he like creates like he does like an ice spell. So but in a normal game you would like fire ice out of your hand or whatever and like attack the enemy, but instead like Cartman walks off screen, comes back the other side from behind the enemy dragging an ice chest, and then he opens the ice chest and just dumps ice water on the person. He's like, and then walks off screen. It's hilarious. All the attacks are like that. They're just like, if a kid was playing this game to himself, like what would he do in real life using real life items to kind of recreate the effects of this kind of fight, which is really cool. And then they have ridiculous things like you can fart into your hand and then throw it at like fire sources in the world, and it would create huge explosions that can kill multiple enemies. Or what was it? So he uses an alien anal probe, comes out of his butt, and then allows him to teleport.
Which also comes from another entirely different side quest.
Yes.
Yeah, and evidently the developer says it's one of the most terrifying things you'll ever experience in a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have all these references to things that happen in South Park, obviously. So you get
even the loot itself, like the equipment you put on, visually changes your character.
Yeah,
and it's all like just fucked up references from the show.
At one point, he puts on like a complete
like a gimp suit or something.
He puts on a BDSM suit and like carries around like a pink dildo, like a dual.
And it's clitoral stimulation.
Dual vibrator.
Yes, and not only that, did you notice they had like a cloud of like a
gas?
Looks like it's
stank.
So I'm clear.
Like lioness.
So it's like it was a used dildo.
Yes.
So it's like stench around it.
Or maybe it was poisoned.
It was experienced.
It was really crude, but obviously it's pretty funny. I think they went a little overboard with the fart humor because there's a lot of farting.
Well, here's my thing, and we talked about this when we did our impressions of this as well. Is that South Park? on its face is very crude and has, it could be offensive and has some bathroom humor and whatnot. But underneath all of that, the writing is actually very good. The show is very witty. It's very thoughtful. It's very well written.
Yes.
This game, it seems to be more of the farty humor and the bathroom humor. And I'm still waiting for that other section to really come into play.
It was a really short demo, so I feel like that just didn't capture that.
I'm sure of that. It just seems, when I said earlier when we started talking about this, that there's a lot of fart humor even for South Park. Like, that's not an exaggeration.
Those are moves. Outside of the actual farting, it was really, really funny.
And you have to understand, this is, again, a 15-minute demonstration of the game. They can only fit so much. You can't have that level of depth.
I know, sure, I know. But it was a lot of farting. That's all I'm saying.
I do have I have one concern
and
myself.
I had a really hard time because the lady kept having to say, she even did the hand motion, where farting into your hand and then shooting it out. I was like, this poor woman.
Like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to act it out.
Oh, she was laughing her ass
what do you
off.
think?
If it's the same,
it was a
person
different
we
lady.
were-
They had a short blonde woman.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I also have one concern, if you will, and that's that in this entire sequence in the school, all the way up until the boss fight, where you actually get to choose which one of your friends to fight as the boss.
I love it. It gives you a choice between siding with Stan and Kyle or siding with Cartman. And then, in the demo, he sided with Stan and Kyle and decided to fight back against Cartman. The moment he chose Cartman, Cartman's like, "God damn you!" Just fucking started railing on it. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Don't let him. What is it? Don't let him
Fuck
Jew
you.
wash you or Jew brainwash you.
My concern is that everything in this entire 20, 25 minute demonstration of the game, probably a half hour ultimately. Everything in the demonstration, all the encounters, pretty much everything you encounter was scripted. There was no actual random encounters. Everything you fought, you saw out in the world doing stuff. And why that might sound like a good thing to some people, if this is really going to be this long, meaty RPG like Obsidian claims it is,
There needs to be an element of randomness.
There might have been-
I don't see how they can keep that up.
There might be.
Maybe when you left the school, there is sort of an overworld.
The thing is, the school serves as more of a. That's actually one.
No, but
the
it
school
makes
serves-
it look like every single fight is a set piece.
Yeah, but you have to remember this is children LARPing. They don't have monsters roaming the world for you to randomly fight.
No, I'm
they
just
they
saying,
just have to fight each other.
Like a game can't keep up scripted set pieces for 80 hours.
No, here's the thing. They
I
have
know,
said.
I know there's an overworld, but
I know, but I think the school obviously serves as a dungeon. So we were seeing a demo of a dungeon. The overworld, they were talking about when they first approached this game, they were thinking of it. They had to actually, for the first time, think about how different areas in the world
They
connected
literally
to each
had
other.
to make the map.
They had to think about, okay, how is South Park actually set up? Because that is the overworld.
But it was a half hour to get through what we got through. There was a shit ton of again scripted set piece content with unique dialogue, with great presentation. It was funny. Think about how much dialogue was recorded just for that 30 minutes we saw.
Even just
If this
the-
is really going to be dozens and dozens of hours of an RPG, there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. I think this is going to be a much much shorter game than we probably realize, which technically I'm okay with. But usually
no, you're probably right. I think. I think
this could be a
Even-
20-hour RPG.
every encounter in
at
the
most.
every encounter in the school was literally you can't proceed beyond this room until you've they would set up barricades, right? And you would approach the barricade and you have to engage them in a fight. And then once you win the fight, then all of a sudden you can cross that barricade and proceed to the next room.
It was very
Yeah.
adventure gamey. There was no real exploration or randomness to. I mean,
That's true, yeah.
or openness to it. It was just sort of.
Yeah,
go
I want to be able to.
forward.
I want to be able to explore South Park and wander in and out of. I don't want every structure I go into in South Park. I don't want that to be a dungeon or I feel like you should be able to explore the overworld, go into buildings, meet interesting characters, and not have that play or have any really key role in the overarching story. I want it to feel like there's a sense of exploration in the world, and they didn't really get that across in the demo. But
Yeah.
as far as creating the feel of South Park, it really did do that better than any South Park game we've ever
incredibly
done.
authentic.
Just the
I
amount
can't
of-
believe it.
Just the amount of incidental dialogue going on throughout the entire thing is amazing.
Oh, and we didn't even explain the friend system.
Oh, the friend that's Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, your character equip screen and your association screens, you make friends that have different factions. It's all done through what looks like a South Park World Facebook interface.
It's even labeled Facebook.
That's hilarious. Yeah. So she was like, so you meet this girl, you save her from these two henchmen, I guess, and then it's like, and as a reward for saving the damsel, you get what every hero gets, and that's a friend request. And all of a sudden, you have a friend request from her, and she becomes
I'm like the goth kids.
Yeah, and then it's
and I can only
it's
assume
quite clever.
that she becomes a companion that you can call into combat, or at least
Something.
go along with you, something like that.
Yeah, I would imagine they didn't flesh that out or let us know, but there seems to be there will be some continual interaction.
There will be some obvious like jabs at Facebook here. I think it's there's.
Oh, there's gonna be jabs at everything. I have no doubt.
It's going to be funny, and it's so well produced that if you even remotely like South Park, it's probably going to be an incredible game, whether it's 10 hours or 40 hours.
Yeah.
Honestly, at this point, it seems like this is the beginning of a whole freaking exclusive season of South Park.
Did they say how they were going to release this? Because it almost feels like since there's this much content and this much, it's so meaty in some ways. I wonder if this will end up being an episodic.
I don't think it will.
system.
I think
I
this
don't
is
think so.
full game.
Just think about these are two guys that do almost all of the voices or all of them. Think about how much recorded dialogue would be in a super RPG like this if it maintains this level of production through the entire.
Maybe that's why they took it. Maybe that's
Super
why
long
they
game.
the next season of South Park is shorter
That might actually be the reason.
because they sacrificed a few episodes to record audio for the game.
So about 20 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's close out with the last two games. Why don't y'all? We talked about Evil Within yesterday, but why don't you? Joseph had a chance to see it today, so why don't you give your
So I liked it. I
Impressions.
liked it a lot. Me and Brad did a quick impressions about it that'll be on YouTube tomorrow. My only concern, and me and Brad and I kind of sort of hashed it out already, and I'm kind of on his level with it. But my only concern from when coming out of it was, you spend a lot of time in this level in Evil Within, where you're sort of trying to escape from this gory looking Cenobite-ish madman guy with a chainsaw, and those sections seem great. He gets out of this mental hospital, and I'll say I am kind of like, why does it have to be a mental hospital? Why does it always have to be a mental
Because
hospital?
that's the new bow of
I
video
know.
games.
I'm just saying it's always a mental hospital. But anyway, he gets out of the mental hospital, and he sees the city is completely destroyed, and there's a gash, literally a giant mile-wide, 2-mile-deep gash going through the city. And he's like, the world has changed. Attica! I didn't say that, but I mean, it's like that kind of thing. And I'm like, really? They had to go there. They had to make it this huge. The entire world is destroyed. I kind of wanted it to be a smaller game.
Did you see that moment as like he was done with the asylum part and now he's going out into the world?
Yes.
No.
Are you sure?
This is like that Silent Hill moment of like I'm not going anywhere.
So he's going back into
Yes,
sort of
I'm
like-
sure of it.
That's the exact
okay.
same. That's the exact Silent Hill. Like when you like, I'm getting out of this fucking town, and then you go up the street and you realize the street just fucking ends, and you're like,
Okay. I hope so, because that was my fear. This giant thing. But my other big takeaway was this game is it when they show up as the police officers to look at inspect this mental hospital. It feels so like Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3. It's amazing. It's great. It just has. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it just has that feel to it. And then there's a section later in the game where he's in this sort of wood cabin, and he begins to get attacked by this mob of humanoid creatures with torches. And I was like, oh man, it's like Resident Evil 4. It's exactly like Resident Evil 4. And I like that. I think these are great games, and I'm glad to see them doing something with it. There's an interesting weapon system where you have, at one point he got mines, and he's putting mines down that these humanoid creatures were sort of setting off. But at the beginning, they explain that things like weapons and ammo will be in short supply, so there'll always be that sense of danger, which I'm happy with. So I came in with it pretty positively. Like I said, I was a little worried about it kind of like doing the Resident Evil thing of like all of a sudden the B-17 bombers falling into the volcano, that kind of
don't
thing.
even jinx it.
This is
But
like
I don't think so.
This game is going to be psychological horror.
So
And
how
I'm glad
many?
about
First and
that.
foremost.
Yeah,
So how many QuickTime events are you gonna? Do you think these
there
gonna
were
put in
none
there?
anywhere in the demo we saw.
I don't believe it.
None. There is zero.
What
This
makes you think
game-
there would be quick time events? What about Shinji Mikami's games that ever made you think?
These-
Because
these
Resident
are-
Evil 4 had
Well,
it.
Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
He did
Resident Evil 4 was the start of that fucking
But that was
madness.
like the first time. I don't know. That was
But seeing where it's going
They
from
weren't
there,
bad in that game because they were only in cutscenes.
they were like
really.
knife fights.
Yeah,
but
and
that
that was
started
a painful,
that,
painful
but that
sequence.
kind of started it, and I think he's seen where it's gone. They're pulling back.
I'm just-
So I was very positive on it. It's still it's still really early for the game. It's still kind of rough, but I'm looking forward to it. So I'm happy about it.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed your
Getting
demonstration
forward
of it, Joseph.
It reminded me of Resident
Thanks
Evil
for
4.
stealing my thunder. You suck.
It reminded me of Resident Evil 4. That's not a good
That's
thing.
good. Anyways, who
That's
cares?
not a good thing.
Who cares? There's a few quick.
You don't like Resident Evil 4?
No, stop.
Oh, because you like Resident Evil 4.
What the hell just happened?
I fucking hate all of you.
I go in to edit a little bit of sound. All of a sudden, people are screaming.
The worst part is, Joseph, you just let him do it. He just walks
I didn't
right
know what he
into
was
it.
doing, and I totally pushed him into it. I didn't realize what was happening.
That's fucking creepy, Brad. You realize that?
I don't podcast with Brad often enough, so I can't quite yet pick up on his nuances and where he's going with things.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
I'm totally stepping in all the traps he's laying.
Okay. So
We
let's
should
go
talk
ahead.
about Wolfenstein.
Let's end the night with Wolfenstein. 'Cause that's the last game.
Wolfenstein!
That is-
Wolfenstein, also the first game I ever played.
at
As
PAX,
Today?
I mean, at E3.
As a child. Wolfenstein 3D.
me too.
It's the first
Oh, no,
game
no,
I
no,
ever
that's not
played.
the first one I ever played, but it was one of the first PC games I ever played.
Other kids were playing Reader Rabbit. I was fucking shooting Nazis.
Let me tell you something. I'm excited for Wolfenstein The New Order. I'll tell you why. 2 reasons. I am excited.
Why is that, Joseph?
I'm excited about what Brad was talking about yesterday with the more adventure scene when you're sitting down on the train with the older woman and her sex slave Poopy? Booby. Her sex slave Booby.
Poopy.
Her sex slave Booby. That's a great scene where you have to pick the car. She's like, I have these, and they're all speaking in German with
Yeah.
subtitles,
Of course.
which is awesome. So she's like, she puts down these cards and you have to try to prove that you are of pure Aryan blood. I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but it's a great scene. And then that you go, you're bringing coffee to some. It's very tense. It reminds me of it's a very.
Inglourious Bastards when they're in the bar.
I was thinking it's very Boogie Nights.
When the dude's lighting
With the
firecrackers.
crackers, yeah,
And they're trying to do that shitty
that
drug
shitty
deal.
Yeah, reminded me of that.
Oh, man.
It's a great scene.
Or in Inglourious. You seen
I didn't see
Inglourious
Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah,
yet.
The bar
scene-
scene's crazy.
The bar scene when they're
Or-
down below.
Hell, just the fucking opening scene of Glorious Bastards in the cabin.
I have to see that movie. I've seen the movie. But so that scene was great.
Or the
And then
cabin scene.
right after that, it's amazing. Right after that, he goes and he meets with this female in this cabin of the train, and it's a cutscene, but it's so fucking well done and
Right?
and
Was I
high,
saying this
and
yesterday?
so
It's weird.
and so high production, and the characters are acting so well, and the voice acting is so good. It looks like a fucking Uncharted game.
See, this sounds so good, but this isn't in the demo that I played.
No, but-
so it pisses me
The
off because I want to see it so
juxtaposition is
bad.
Yeah, so but then you go and then it turns into the shooter, right?
Yeah.
So watching the shooter, I was like, just kind of a shooter. It's kind of a shooter. I don't know.
It's very shooter.
But then I played it today.
Yeah,
I played it
As
too.
a shooter, it's actually really good.
it's fairly competent.
It's you have a leaning mechanism, almost like kill zones, where you get close, you can pop up and pop down.
Yeah, you hold on the left shoulder button, or you crouch behind something, you hold on the left shoulder
Right.
button, and then you can lean out
Right.
in any direction.
There's the guns feel really good. The AI is pretty decent. There's a lot of environmental damage. You can shoot through walls and break down walls.
Yeah,
People
it's
are behind
surprising.
cover. It's really cool.
And most importantly, I think they captured the atmosphere really well.
They really did. It's like Iron Sky. It's like playing Iron Sky.
It is.
The robots. If you guys remember the piece I wrote, what I want from from the Wolfenstein The New Order, one of the things I said is I want robots that are fun to fight, like Binary Domain. And the robots are fun to fight because as you're shooting them, pieces are breaking off, and there's that really good return feeling when you're blowing
Not
them
quite
apart.
to the same degree as
Not as much,
Binary
but they're
Domain.
still there. Number 2, this level I went through actually has some really really well hidden areas. In fact, I was fighting this robot, and first I went through it, I died a few times trying to figure out how to get through this area. I ended up killing the robot just by going around and flanking and all this kind of stuff. And I said, well, let me explore this area. I found this safe hidden somewhere else, and I had to use this little thing to break open the safe. You do this electrical magnet sort of
Yeah,
thing.
I did the
you
same
know,
thing.
And you get a health upgrade. And then I found this kitchen area, and in the kitchen area I found a hatch. So I go up into the hatch, and now I'm in these vents above the area.
What?
And I'm in the area, and I go and I get to this.
Wait,
in the same level, right? In the where the robot
Yeah,
was.
just upstairs, right?
The robot.
You go into the back of the kitchen, and there's a hatch. You go
I
into the
didn't
hatch.
see that.
Well, I go into the hatch, and I go into the vents. Now I'm in the vents above that level, and I get to the end, and I see this chain right here. And I'm trying to shoot the train.
I tried shooting it too. I couldn't figure that
So
out.
I talk to the. I bring
have
the
to
guy.
use the laser.
I bring the guy over. I'm like, hey, so I'm worried about this chain. He's like, oh, you have to use your laser. I use the laser, and this giant plane that was suspended in the ceiling falls down where the robot would have been. And that was another way to kill the robot.
Wait.
And he goes, wow, you're like one of the few people who actually found that in this level.
What's a robot?
A robot.
A robot?
A robot. A robot.
A robot?
A robot.
A robot?
A robot.
See
It's
now,
not
see now, I
robot.
wish there was another day of E3 just so I can go find
Hey,
it.
That's a mechanical frog. It goes robot, robot, robot.
Don't worry, you'll get your chance. The
But
game will come
what
out.
confuses me is when they first introduced Wolfenstein, they said this is not an action game. This is an action adventure game.
Right.
Yeah, what we played was pure balls
But I
to the
think-
walls action.
But I think there's going to be more of what we saw in the behind closed doors.
Here's
in that
what
game.
I wanna
But
know.
One more thing before I finish up. So I enjoyed the shooting quite a bit. When the thing ended, the developer's still standing up there, so I called and said, "Hey, can I ask you a quick question?" I go, "Sure." It's like, old school Wolfenstein guy here. Are there wall secrets with treasure behind them that you can find? And he goes, "It wouldn't be a Wolfenstein game if there wasn't."
Good answer.
So
Very good answer.
that's what I said.
Yes.
That's a good answer.
Here's what I want to know.
well, I think you can find secrets using that little cut beam.
There's that
cut
too.
beam.
That's part of it. Yeah. So you have this cut beam where you can cut holes in certain walls that you
Which-
can snipe through
Which
or go
it's
through.
unfortunate because it's just certain walls.
Yeah, it's not all of them.
I think this could be really fucking cool.
But there's a lot of
You
other
need
walls you can also break
Full-blown
apart.
geomodding.
It would all, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It could feel like classic Red Faction, but it's not.
But but I enjoyed the gunplay.
Here's what I want to know. Yes, I think everything about this demo was solid.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not a fan of shooters, it may not appeal to you, but I feel like what was there was really polished, really well done. It looks really nice. The atmosphere is really great. But here's what I want to know: because if they're trying to present the idea that this game is an action adventure game, not just an action game,
Yeah.
does that mean that maybe there's a hub world, kind of like Wolfenstein, the Raven?
No, I
Wolfenstein?
think you're
No.
hoping for too much. I think
Yeah.
this is a linear-based gameplay design.
Yeah, I doubt there's a hub world.
Then why would they call it an adventure game?
Action adventure. game.
Action adventure. I think there's like the scene where you're actually choosing the cards to prove your area and heritage. I think there's going to be a lot more of that
I
stuff.
know there's a lot of
I
that
think
stuff,
that's the
because-
adventure stuff.
I mean, I loved the Wolfenstein that Raven did. I think that was a really great game, and part of that was because
A
there was
non-pure blood would have grabbed the gun.
That's right. So that's the ending. So you get through the card thing, and she goes, "You passed because a non-Aryan would have went for the gun
that's pretty cool.
because he was so confident he was Aryan that he never felt he needed to." You know, but of course he wasn't because B.J. Blazkowicz is Jewish.
Yeah,
That's the joke. That's part of that joke, I guess.
Which, by the way, the voice actor and the acting they're doing for Blazkowicz, Blazkowicz has always been a silent protagonist.
No, he's not here. In fact, you know
He's
what
not.
he is? You know what he is? He's fucking hilarious.
He is really
He's
funny.
really hilarious. He has all these like awesome, like really cheesy kind of one-liners. But here's the best thing. Here's the best fucking thing. So I killed all the people where the robot is, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna explore because it's Wolfenstein. You have to look for secrets and explore. So along the wall, we're in this like museum of space, right? And along the wall, there's pictures of Nazis landing on the moon because the whole idea is the Nazis won, and now this is taking place in the 60s. So I go up to the picture of the Nazi planting the Nazi flag on the moon, and B.J. Blazkowicz goes, Blazkowicz says, they put a Nazi on the moon. Fuck you, moon. It was
Okay.
awesome. I laughed so hard. It was
Well,
so
wasn't
great.
he talked in the last Wolfenstein game, didn't he?
No.
I don't
No, he
know.
didn't really.
No,
Like
he
the
didn't.
Raven one?
Oh, maybe the Raven one he did.
And even then, was that actually Blazkowicz? Because I mean,
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
And it was.
Let me be clear though.
it was-
Let me be perfectly clear.
I mean, they even did a full render face model of the original like 8-bit.
Yeah, they turned that
character.
into a modern character
That's great.
really well.
Let me be totally clear here though. And this is a fact.
I can't describe how realistic the interaction between Blazkowicz and this woman that he met on the train was.
I want to see maybe it's up yet.
It's so weird.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's like, why is this in this?
Let me
game?
be clear. This is a point I have to make because as much as I enjoyed this Wolfenstein demo and as much as I'm looking forward to playing the final game, there is one and only one true Nazi game, and it is the best Nazi game, and that is the Saboteur.
Hey! Wait! Before we go off into this conversation, where we are,
no, we're not having a conversation.
We call Nick silly or whatever. I don't know. Maybe he's right. I don't know. I haven't played it. Oh, for fuck you.
Okay, fine.
Did I make you forget your thought?
Wait.
That's all right.
Wait.
Oh, for fuck you.
Well, I would say that I respectfully disagree with you about the Saboteur.
I will respectfully let you disagree with me.
I didn't. For me, I was actually really looking forward to the Saboteur because it was Pandemic. It was their next game, beyond Mercenaries 2.
Did you finish that game?
No, I didn't.
The game was great.
No, I had to stop after a few hours. I could not take it anymore.
Why? Because it was glitchy?
It wasn't glitchy. It was the fact
it was
that-
glitchy.
Well,
it was
no,
glitchy, yes.
I didn't have a problem with glitches. It was the way the gameplay was structured.
Oh my god, dude! You gotta play. I played the game for almost 30 hours. The game's great.
I just
20 hours. Sorry, not 30.
I couldn't get past some of the aspects of it, but I can understand.
Well, I encourage
where
you to
are
try it
coming
again
from.
someday. Maybe get past some of the earlier sections. Anyways, that's not important.
Mhm. What is important?
What is important is that E3 is over, and I'm gonna go to bed now.
You're done?
Oh no, you're not going to bed. I'm still working on videos. You got at the podcast. We gotta do.
No,
shit.
I'm getting up in the morning doing the podcast because I don't.
And you gotta finish that drink because I made that for you.
Are you gonna have me chug it again?
Right to the camera.
I'll do it after the show.
Is there anything we're missing? Did I talk about how awful Loco Cycle is yet?
Yes.
All right.
There's
Actually, no, you didn't. You
There's actually an
mentioned it.
entire article on the site
I wrote about
how
it.
awful Loco
I wrote an
Cycle
article
is.
on the site about awful Loco
Yeah, but that
Cycle.
didn't appear on the podcast.
That's true.
People need to know. There's people that are never going to read that
My words
article.
are so good, though. I'll just say
I did not brush my teeth, Tiki421. I need to. After I finish my drink. All right. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here because I said so. Thank you, everybody who tuned in every night, watched us record our podcast, download the podcast on iTunes, check out the site, check out our YouTube page. We've had a blast covering E3 2013. It's been a lot of fun. We look forward to doing it again. PAX Prime's in 3 months. We'll be there in Seattle on the ground.
If
Joseph's.
Joseph will have us.
Of course we'll have you.
We'll be on the ground in Joseph's
My domicile. My lair.
his lair.
Source.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for the support. We really appreciate it. As we hinted before E3 started, we have some cool new subscriber benefits in the works. We'll be talking more about those in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
PAX Prime is in 3 months.
PAX Prime, fuck me. It's like one conference ends and another one comes out of the woodwork.
Well, this is sort of the season for it.
Yeah, I know.
And I've got some mini PAXs that I want y'all to help me work with and go to.
Mini PAXs. We're gonna send Chris to some mini PAXs. Brad, do you have anything to say before we wrap up E3?
No.
Nope.
We've done, was it 4 shows, 5 shows now?
4 shows.
4 shows in a row. Should we do a 4-player minute?
No.
I'm not prepared.
No. Shut up.
Just an impromptu
No.
one.
How about
Okay.
what is your
Okay.
game of the show?
Game of show.
Fine, game of show.
Game of show.
Witcher 3. Brad?
Yeah, Witcher 3.
Witcher 3.
Chris?
I'm gonna be different. I gotta say this game impressed me very early on. I've been following it. I have to give it to Titanfall.
All right. I was impressed with Titanfall as well.
It's a good choice. It's a good choice. I will say this: we gave out 4 booth awards this morning when we arrived. Those games we gave it to were The Witcher 3, obviously. We actually contemplated giving all 4 of our awards to Witcher 3,
I thought that.
Oh yeah,
but then decided against that.
We don't want to give them big heads.
We gave an award to Dying Light, which is the zombie game from Techland we talked about a few days ago.
Mhm.
We gave one to The Evil Within, and we gave one to South Park because South Park was pretty fucking cool.
yeah. As soon as that demo ended, Joseph and I, we just looked at each other.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, they need the award.
Yeah.
So just here.
So, I mean, it was a good year. It was a great year for E3. We
Oh,
look
yeah.
forward to covering next year. PAX Prime's in a few months, so we'll be covering that. We hope to see a bunch of you on the ground in Seattle. We always have a pretty big, awesome group at PAX.
Thank God E3 is a year away.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Slightly. Actually, there was a headline I saw on some site. It said E3 2014 is just under a year away. Because next year, June 10th through the 12th.
Yeah.
So we'll be back at E3 next year, June 10th through 12th, 2014.
Fuck.
Yeah. The countdown begins. But yeah, check out the site. It's 4playernetwork.com. We'll be back to our regular schedule next week with a new podcast on Tuesday, most likely. Or are we doing that on Tuesday?
Maybe. I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
But
I might be all podcasted out for a week. I might need a week off.
But if I may say in closing, it's been said a lot by us, but again, I have to reiterate, thank you to our viewers, our subscribers, our readers, our commenters, everybody. If it weren't for y'all, we would not have come here. We would not have been able to provide this coverage, and it's thanks to you.
And we would not have had that fantastic Japanese dinner last night.
And that Japanese dinner, which I think other people in this group need to actually help pay for.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
But if it weren't for y'all, we wouldn't have been able to come here. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Also,
Take us home, Brad.
the good times are going to roll. So just because we're done with E3 live coverage doesn't mean there's not going to be more content. But more importantly, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central, I will be playing
The Last of Us.
The Last of Us live on the feed.
Mm-hmm.
So show up for that, for the Last of Us.
Oh my god! I just spent a week at E3, and I'm going home tomorrow, but I still have 2 days off. I get to play Last of Us.
So the question is, do you see Superman first, or do you play The Last of Us first?
I haven't decided the order of operations yet, but I'm going to see Superman this weekend as well. So, anyways, we're out, guys. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you.
Also, thanks everyone who came to the meetup.
Oh yeah, thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you very much.
You know, our E3 meetups are pretty small, but you know, everybody. We always have a few people show up. It's awesome to those y'all who did show up. We really appreciate the support. We hope to see you again next year. And now we're gonna end it. Thank you.
Later, everybody.
Thank you.